Welcome to Nerd on Nerd with me, Jack Kempster.
And me, Liam Underwood. And in this episode, we're talking about The Last Starfighter.
Yep.
But we have a special guest.
Yes, we do.
So, go on.
We're joined this time by Lee from the Atlantic Screen Connection podcast and other things.
And other things. Hey guys, again.
Hey Lee.
Hey.
I feel like we only spoke a week ago.
That's funny, that.
So, when we had Lee on a week and a bit ago, we recorded a 3-hour-long spectacular episode for all you listeners. And then something went wrong, and we lost it. So, now you get this recording, which is our attempt at recreating that episode. So if at any point any of us sort of get bored with the conversation or it trails off, that's because we've done it already.
Yeah, this is very much like a real-life Groundhog Day.
I feel like I'm okay because I have a shit memory, so this whole episode to me is going to be like brand
all
new.
Well, it's okay as long as you guys can just act interested when I repeat the same jokes.
I don't do it anyway. Whenever you're talking, I always sound disinterested, so that should also be easy.
I
Yeah,
think the people who are aware of the shows I do realize I laugh at basically everything all the time anyway, to a frustrating degree, so you're not going to notice any difference.
Perfect.
See, so it's all just going to be perfect, guys.
So, let's just get right into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Catching up with Jack and Liam and Lee. This is the first part of the show where we catch up with each other.
Yeah.
You never explain what this bit is.
Yeah, I thought it was about time.
Okay, fair enough.
Like 40-something episodes in.
In case you didn't catch it.
Yeah, in case you weren't aware. So, Lee, let's start with you. What were you up to the week before we recorded last? Which was over a week ago.
Good question. Terrifyingly vague question. I got kittens.
Yes, that's right. I remember now.
So they're still alive, which is great.
Well done.
Way.
Yeah,
What were their names again?
Kanji and
That's it.
Drogo.
Yeah.
Both a week later, you start to realize the flaws of kittens more. I guess I spent because I work from home. I actually I'm with the cats quite a lot, and they're absolutely, they drive me fucking crazy already.
It's amazing how different this conversation is from last time, Lee, because I remember a lot of positivity about the kittens last week.
Yeah, they were amazing.
They were
bundles of
cute.
joy.
Yeah, the dream come true. Finally, company at home, and then 1 week later, they're like tearing shit apart and fighting with each other. And every time they get on my fucking lap, they're screaming for food. And it makes me feel like I'm not looking after them, but I am. So they're needy, greedy bastards that I now live with forever. Well,
no, not forever, because cats only last, what?
Jesus, Liam.
10 years, is it?
Shit, no, they can go on for 20 years, I think.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
20.
I know. Fucking, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
Kittens aren't for Christmas, and they're also not for your several decades later.
I like cats though. So I was having this conversation with Kat the other night because for anyone who's just maybe we got some new listeners, right? Because maybe Lee has some fans and they're listening to this for the first time, which is why I'm feeling the need to explain things. So for any new listeners, my girlfriend is called Kat, and we were walking home the other night and we was approached by a cat. And she's 100% like a dog person. And I like dogs. I'm a dog person. But I also really like cats.
Aren't you allergic to dogs?
Yeah, I am allergic to them. But that's part of the problem. Because I like them so much. That if a dog comes up to me, I don't put myself first. And I'm not like, oh, I can't get near it because of my allergies. I'm like immediately just loving it. And it's loving me back. Because just dogs love me for some reason.
Yeah.
But the thing with cats is you never know. Like, you could be walking down the street and you get like a surprise cat visit where it just comes over, you give it a little bit of fuss, and then it's done, and you can just move on with your life. And I love those like random encounters with cats that you don't really get with dogs.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're succinct, and they surprise you because you don't expect it. Because cats typically hate humans and interaction and joy.
And that's the thing, like, if you saw a dog in the street and it came up and you gave it like 5 minutes of fuss, it'd be like, cool, I'm now bonded to you for life, where are we going? Whereas a cat is like, thank you for that fuss, on your way, good sir.
Yeah, incidentally, that's how our family got our first dog, is literally a dog came up to us in the street, a stray, and just wouldn't leave, just slept outside our porch, and then we were just like, fuck it, let's adopt him.
We have a dog now.
Yeah, we have a dog now. Got it all legally done properly.
Which perfectly demonstrates my point.
Yeah, although that also leads to things like adopting a crazy dog who hates humans and clearly has baggage and lives on in fear of company, so therefore bites everyone that gets anywhere near him. Those are the days.
That's less fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the cats, they're enjoying their life?
I assume so. They don't tell me. But I hope... they only scream for food, so, you can only get so much out of them, but they do sleep next to us when we're sitting in the living room, so I mean, yeah, why not? I'm sure they're fine. I've Googled it. Cats sleep, so that's a good thing. Only when they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Elsewhere in the week, I mean, I said last time I got a shortlisted for a screenwriting.
Yes, that's right.
Thing, like, contest thing, in which if I were to win one of the 4 places, then I get access to like a sort of screenwriting club, I guess, where they develop your script and hopefully try to produce it, which would be awesome if it happens. And a week or so later, I'm still waiting to hear back. That deadline was, I think, today, maybe yesterday, when they were going to meet up and discuss who was going to be in the finals. So, still waiting on that.
Yeah, but you might hear back like tomorrow or something.
Yeah, I know. Imagine the turnaround and the revelation that would have been in recording had I news, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, the good luck vibe still applies.
Yeah.
Because it did sound interesting. So if you want to kind of explain what the screenplay was about, feel free.
Oh yeah. So the screenplay was about is about a girl who commits suicide and wakes up in the afterlife, which is kind of this room with a TV in which she can view all events prior to her death and tune in to life living on past her. Meanwhile, she can interact with people who have died as well, and it's very much about dealing with how people live on without you. As well as trying to cope with the reasons that she killed herself, and also sort of how she deals with meeting up with family who she left beforehand and kind of try to piece together what it all means and what she wanted out of the suicide, I suppose. Which kind of sounds more flippant than it will read, I guess. But I'm not trying to belittle suicide to sort of like a jokes concept circumstance that just happens. It does take suicide quite seriously, but it's kind of like this high concept exploration of our relationships with people post and pre-death, and that kind of shit interests me, so I wrote a feature about it, and hopefully I cannot, it's hard to imagine this ever getting made, I suppose, because I just want it so much to be made, and it's because I don't really know of a lot of films that are like very specifically like it. So I
always had this idea, and this wasn't for like a screenplay, it's just something that I thought would be cool. Would be if when I died, I got to go to this like big editing room, and I could play back my life and then tweak little bits and see the new like branch that would go off, and just see like, cool. So maybe if I'd have done this, would I then be happy? And then you follow it for a couple of years, you go, oh no, that didn't work, rewind. And essentially like trying to like with a video game, trying to find like the perfect path for like ultimate success and happiness.
That's interesting. And that definitely would make it. It's kind of like Groundhog Day if Bill Murray was in an editing booth watching the events of Groundhog Day happen.
It might make a better like video game almost. Like if there was a mystery that you were trying to unravel, so you go back and you like try and tweak things to see it from different perspectives, perhaps. Yeah,
that's a really cool concept. I mean, isn't that there's part of that concept in a game? What is it? It's like it was like an Xbox exclusive where a guy you can rewind like certain scenes, and those scenes then play out depending on what you pick up in the scene. I can't remember. The name,
Life is Strange does something a bit like that.
Yeah, Life is Strange is another one that kind of toys with it, although none as specific as that. That's a really cool concept. It'd be cool to see that happen in some form, although programming it with like multiple endings for every cut you make would be a fucking disaster.
Yeah, it'd be a nightmare. Just in my head, I was just like, wouldn't it be cool if that's what happened when you died, instead of just, the bleak nothingness of eternity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it still sounds like you make it like a good book or something, where you have the time to go into this character's many different lives.
I think that's the thing, is it would take so much time to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I still want to do a film with Jack at some point. That's something that we discussed last time, and now I'm going to make us discuss it again.
Cool.
Oh, good.
Because I figure if I can get Jack to commit to it on an episode that we actually release, then it has to happen. Because the amount of times we've said we're definitely going to do something on the podcast, and then that has definitely happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the podcast, everything we say we're going to do happens.
Yes. So, I think the idea is still a mumblecore type film, where it's low budget, like a real quiet little story, just about Jack living his life, I think.
I don't want it to be about me. Why does it keep having to be about me?
Because you're meant to write about what you know.
Else. What?
You're meant to write about what you know.
You don't know my life.
I know you.
You know me, yeah.
There we go then. I could probably
Your
imagine
idealised
your life.
version of me, though, Liam, is scary, and I don't like it.
He knows you enough to make a caricature in a film.
Yeah.
With you.
So Jack's life. Jack wakes up. He eats some pizza. He goes to work. He reads a book about
I think I eat
aliens
pizza
and shit.
before work.
Yeah. You read a book about aliens and shit. You come home. You have a wank, and then you cry yourself to sleep, and that's the movie.
I mean, it's worryingly accurate.
See, I think I do know you.
Yeah. So.
And then you kind of, you have a little calendar, and you just mark down your days for when you get to record with me, and they're like these shining rays of happiness in an otherwise bleak life.
Yeah, sure.
I've been thinking over this concept since you last mentioned it. So, like, what's the runtime of this? Are you going feature, or is this a short?
I'm thinking. So mumblecores tend to be definitely under 90 minutes and more towards the 60. So I'm thinking between 70 and 80 minutes is my sweet spot.
Okay, and would it be just one day? Would it be a week? Would it look like painful detail of what actually happens in a single day?
Well, so a part of the appeal of mumblecore is that there is a lot of just kind of, it's all about character. So it's all about building up Jack's character through like subtleties and nuance, and we've definitely been kicking around some ideas. But
You keep saying we. You did this last time as well, and it's primarily you.
But you've agreed to be in it.
I've agreed to be in it.
Yeah, you just don't want the character to be named Jack.
No.
So we'll name them something else, like, I don't know, Ezekiel or something.
I'm right with that.
Something
That's
close.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Or Jock.
who lives at home.
Jock Dampster.
Or Jake.
Jake, that's good.
But yeah, because we were discussing before, like, I tried to write a musical about Jack's life, and he was like, whingy little bitch about it.
You started with a song about my parents conceiving me.
Which is the natural starting point of a life.
Absolutely.
But not of a musical.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if it's a musical of a life, then it
Thank
has
you.
to start
Don't
at the
side
start.
with him, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, where would you prefer we start, Jack?
I don't know. First memory?
What's your first memory?
I remember being on the island of Guernsey and falling down some stairs.
Bloody hell.
Cool.
What's your first memory, Lee?
I kind of can't tell which was the first memory. It was either waking up and going to my parents' room in the night, or kicking my brother out of my single bed, the little bastard, or playing Downfall. You know the board game Downfall?
That game was great.
Yeah, I remember waking up in the middle of the night on a holiday in a caravan, opening it from the box, and then just putting pegs down it and playing Downfall.
So yeah, Jack, we're not going to make... that's a really boring place to start a musical about you falling down some stairs.
Nothing interesting. Well, I mean, it could that could start like the Jewel narrative, one where he's like in a hospital bed and like inventing his real life, and then he wakes up. And then it's like he's like 3.
So I think one of the genuine ideas we had for a mumblecore, and I'll try and be vague about it because obviously we don't want anyone stealing these super sweet ideas of ours.
Oh yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, but it was basically Jack kind of living his life. He had a girlfriend, so fiction.
Thanks.
And it was all about how like everyone around Jack's like all of his friends and everything, they were all like progressing in their lives and careers and aspirations, and Jack was feeling very like stuck, and the whole film was basically him kind of coming to terms with that and trying to get over it, which is a very mumblecore idea, I feel.
Yeah.
It's so mumblecore. It's also, I feel like really what you're doing with this film, Liam, is you're trying to tell your story without telling anyone that that's what you're doing.
That's what all directors do when it comes to films.
That's all right then, so long as we'll call the character Liam.
Well, no, it's called Jake.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing, I think what we need is a character that blends the two of us.
Yeah?
So we'll take my good looks and...
But I'm playing the character.
Oh, shit, that's our first mistake.
So thanks for the compliment, buddy.
That's all right.
I've already got the good looks.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, what part of you do you want in there?
Pick apart.
Pizza loving.
Is this just so you can get like lots of footage of you eating pizza?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds ideal. If every scene ends with me eating a slice of pizza, I'm all right.
What a deal. Yeah, that's like that's the dream contract.
Oh, exactly. What if we do like a documentary film and it's about you like training for a pizza eating competition?
Wow.
I see, I'm more on board with that. That sounds great.
You just have to find a real pizza eating contest, though.
Yeah. Or we could do like
That's
a blend of the two. Like we could do a mumblecore and part of it will be Jake training for a pizza eating contest.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like so everyone else can be like getting on with their lives, like they get promotions at work, they're getting married and stuff. But Jake is just like all about this pizza. And it's you know, the kind of real like theme and vibe of it is just like, what is it that drives you? And it, you know, it's a non-judgmental look at, you know,
non-judgmental.
Yeah, the things that...
By, like, you know, cutting the pieces of your life and pasting them back together, we hope to portray you in a non-judgmental light.
Yeah, I feel like Liam thinks just saying non-judgmental means he can do whatever he wants because he can go, no, I said it's non-judgmental, remember?
Yeah, basically. I don't know,
I mean,
we've got lots of ideas is the problem. We just need to sit down and actually write something.
Yeah, hash it out. I mean, I thought it was going in a direction where it was going to be like, you'd find that this is the grey area of his life that he lacks that progress in was going to be illuminated when he meets you and does Nerd on Nerd. But maybe that's too on the nose.
Yeah, I definitely want to be in it. And I do like the idea of being like a sort of spiritual advisor because I feel like that is how our dynamic tends to work.
I taught you how to wipe your own arse.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wow.
It's a give take push pull type of
right okay
advisory. Like, you know, you give some advice and I listen, and then I give other advice and you don't listen, and that's how I progress and you stay very stagnant.
Sure. Let's move on, Liam.
No, I just wanted to say no because I was going to say that I thought it would be good to get you on board with the writing because you like writing.
Yes, and that's what I mean. Once you have that idea hashed out and you know the central concepts of the characters, I am on board. I cannot wait to start picking apart Jack's life and giving it new meaning. I mean, Jake's life.
Yeah.
Let's get that down first. Let's all stop calling it Jack.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll help with the casting for the girlfriend.
Is it just going to be you in drag? Because I mean,
oh, I'm down with that.
That's the advisory rule that you really wanted.
Yeah, I think that would be actually beautiful.
Yeah, touching.
Yeah.
And we have like a lot of dream sequences as well.
Of course.
It's
mumblecore.
Yeah, everyone knows that mumblecore likes the old dream sequence. I went to Woking like
did you, Liam?
3 weeks ago now or something. Yeah. I met Dan for the first time, who's been on the podcast before. Dan Palmer.
Yeah, it's weird because I assumed you had met Dan before, but you haven't.
No, I've just spoken to him a lot.
Yeah.
So that was good to meet him. He seems like a quite like well put together chap.
Dan is an odd one in that he's able to do the adult stuff, like figure out, you know, mortgages and shit.
Yeah.
but he's also just a giant child.
Yeah, but he doesn't I don't know, he doesn't convey that. Do you know what I mean? Like he can mask it, I feel.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's able to hide the childlike wonder he has of the universe.
Yeah, but yeah, so I went to Woking and I got you and Dan to show me around as a way of trying to sell it to us because we're looking at a new place to move to.
Yep, and that all resulted in you deciding that you're moving to Woking.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said you were going to do, Liam, last time we were talking about this.
Yeah, see, me and Lee both heard that, so now you have to do it.
It's as we've ascertained, anything that's said on the podcast is happening.
Yeah. I'd just like to read out the directions I got from Jack when we arrived in Woking. Bearing in mind, so this is a place
go for it.
I'd been to once before, didn't know anywhere around. I had a postcode to get me to a car park, so we parked up. So I initially sent a message to Jack saying, I think we're headed to Victoria Car Park. The response I got to that was, we here, where you? Obviously I was driving. So I respond, just parked. Jack, me to SB. He realised that was maybe a bit too much code, so then messaged Starbix.
Yeah, I struggle to type.
Yeah. This is after I asked what's SB, because I didn't know. I said...
I sent that before you asked that. It's just that the fucking delay in it sending
made it
look like I immediately answered you. Because I said to Palmer, I went, I've sent SB, and only me, you and Tom call it that.
Yeah. Obviously, not knowing where I was, we come out of the car park and we're opposite a game shop. And, it's the sort of shop that is quite unique. So I figured that's a good way to identify somewhere that we are, that they'll be able to find us. So I said, we're at the game shop. Jack's response, nah, SB. Where is that from here?
I thought you were being like, oh, come meet us here. And I was like...
Yeah, because I didn't know where to go, Jack. I'd never been there.
Yeah, and then I helped you.
Yeah, by giving me some, Lord of the Rings type of coded message. Follow the road
Go on, read out the instructions I gave you.
Follow the road to the big sleeping man.
Yep.
At the sleeping man, left look to the...
My phone cursor fucked up and started typing in the middle of the sentence there.
It was ridiculous. We eventually found
incredible.
it. Woking shit. We did some bowling. It wasn't very good. I don't like Woking. We're not moving to Woking.
I would like to point out that your list of criteria for where you want to move are ridiculous and unreasonable.
It's not ridiculous and it's not unreasonable.
It's ridiculous and unreasonable. You want a house, but you want to pay cheap, flat rates on a house, which is just insane anyway. You want to be closer to London, which fucks that first one up immediately. You want a comic book shop, a HMV, and a chain of cinemas. So one cinema, but it has to be part of a chain that offers unlimited membership, which reduces you to Odeon and Cineworld, and possibly others, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those criteria are not the criteria of adults looking to rent somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
No, Liam, they're not.
What are
Kat's criteria?
She's just happy if I'm happy.
I don't think she is.
Because to be fair, if I'm not happy, she hears about it relentlessly.
Yeah, what I'm curious about is, if all that stuff is where you are now, why are you moving?
Because the sort of work that I do is more based in London. And at the moment, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get to London, and I'm not doing a commute that long.
Jesus, yeah, no fucking way.
Yeah, so I want to get closer to London, but I don't see why in doing that I should not be able to have a local comic book shop, a local cinema that I can go to, and a local HMV. Those are just three things that I think everyone should have access to.
But you're not going to get them local is the issue. Your idea of local is not everyone else's. To me, I've got a local cinema and a local comic book shop. They're both 30-minute drive away in opposite directions.
That's not local.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Your idea of local is ridiculous.
It's a 15-minute drive.
I just don't think you're going to find it.
I've got good news. Belfast actually hits that criteria in all ways except the London bit.
Yeah, just that one. So what's the commute to London from there?
Well, I mean, by a plane, it's probably 45 minutes.
Okay.
So
that's all right.
Not too bad, but then you have to get on a fucking plane twice a day, and I mean,
yeah,
you might be really good with planes. It's not an option for me.
Do you not like planes?
I'm amazed that people do like planes. They're it's like being chucked across the world in a Diet Coke can.
Yeah, it's fascinating how science works in that you can do that and not die.
Yeah, repeatedly in your life.
So have you done yeah, because you went to America.
Yeah, no, I've done like long flights and plenty of flight. I mean, like I've been to London every year for the last 3 years.
Yeah, but you could have got a boat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but then what? Then we hire a car or fucking drive into London? Are you mad?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
Also, I hate boats. Like, I would much rather be on a plane than a boat.
I'm the other way around. Although I did used to hate boats, I think perspective has changed my opinion on it. Like planes, I'm just like, no, man. I can't even. You know what would be good though? If I could sleep on a plane, problem would be solved. You know, that 10-hour flight to fucking California or Vegas would have been so much easier had I been able to fucking sleep at any point in the 10 hours. Instead of watching like 4 films back to back just to take my mind off the fact that at any point we could just suddenly plummet from the air and die.
Yeah, I can't sleep on planes, but it's because I'm normally just like too excited.
Wow.
Yeah.
To go home and away?
Well, it's more to going away. The coming home, I then just can't sleep because I'm just thinking about what a good time I had and how I'm about to go back to just a shit show. So, yeah. I also find I just can't get very comfortable to sleep on planes.
That's true. Even the one we had that was supposedly comfortable.
Yeah.
On the way back from America, and it was comfortable when it started. We had a big wide TV in the back of the next chair, and you could kind of lounge. Then the guy in the chair in front of me lounged his chair so much it basically like it was resting on my thighs.
Oh
yeah,
and I was like, "What that shouldn't be." I couldn't even fucking see the TV anymore without lounging back myself and ruining somebody else's day.
That's when you pull out an iPad and just rest it on his face. That's something else that we spoke about last time, but we haven't this time. Since we spoke to you, not last, but the last before that, is you've got married and went to Vegas.
Yeah.
One of those
Vegas.
shotgun Elvis-themed weddings.
Yeah. That would have been the smarter thing to do. I mean, definitely more cost-effective.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Vegas is a shit show.
Did you not like it?
No, I hated it. It's everything I don't like about cities, I guess, if it really even qualifies. I don't like sleazy, crazy people driving.
No, that's fair.
Driving into a sort of commercial place where everybody is asking you to buy shit everywhere you go, and just everything was so expensive. I mean, to get the fucking pancakes in the morning was like 25, the equivalent of 25 quid.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I mean, that's absolutely fucking crazy. And that was just at the hotel, to be fair. I could walk in the desert 5 miles away, and then there was there was a McDonald's, you know. I don't like casinos either. And when you hear that, then you go like, then why the fuck did you go to Vegas?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah. I guess I thought I would like the lights and the scenery of it. And I mean, our room was nice.
Yeah.
So we had a good view, and I was really there for pools more than anything. But
did you do the Grand Canyon?
We did not.
Okay.
We did Yosemite National Park instead. Which was
I've been there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's awesome. I like it. Yeah. It's really pretty.
It is really pretty.
Lots of walking. A lot of walking.
Yeah, we see that. We wanted to. Well, I wanted to do that. Maria didn't want to do that, but it was actually like plummeting rain the entire time.
Oh, really?
So we couldn't actually go anywhere.
That's good.
But it was it made for good views of the mountain. We actually stayed in the park itself. There's a cabin you can stay in.
Yeah.
We stayed there for a day or so, and I mean that was nice.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so it was pretty. It was pretty
interesting
cool.
Though that you went to somewhere for lights and then ended up preferring a national park.
I mean, there were places that I liked. San Francisco, and it kind of had some lights. It was just a really cool place, nice culture. The people there weren't as crazy.
There's still a little bit of craziness in San Francisco.
Absolutely, I mean, yeah, but at least they were kind of funny crazy. They had most people had a sense of humor about them.
Yeah,
or at least a little sense of self-awareness.
Did you ride the trams and all that sort of stuff?
No, but we had a tour bus to the pier and the Japanese tea garden and that their place where Jimi Hendrix was found.
Okay.
there's like a wall where Jimi Hendrix was was signed or something. I don't know. It was interesting. He lived there nearby as well, where the hippie tie-dye scene was. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It is a real, like, culturally interesting place.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I just loved the hills.
Yeah.
That was what I was really there for. Although we did the Golden Gate Bridge as well. We sort of drove across it, and that was cool. So, yeah. I mean, that was fine. But like the holiday as a whole was kind of like a mix. Fucking LA was a shithole.
So that's somewhere I want to. Like, I want to go to Vegas because I want to go and see some of the big shows there, like the magic shows and stuff.
Oh my god! I didn't even fucking say. I did see a show in Vegas. It was probably the worst.
Oh, what did you see?
I went to see Cirque du Soleil, Michael Jackson's One.
Okay.
Holy Christ! It was terrible. It's like I think. I quite like Michael Jackson. I think most people on some level appreciate Michael Jackson.
Jack hates him.
Jack hates him. There you go. But like you're bound to like a song or a point in his career that was okay.
Like his do you remember his History album?
Yeah.
That was like the first ever album that I owned, so it was very like defining of my life, I feel.
Right, yeah. So I mean, and there's everybody has some sort of connection to him, whether I guess whether you like him or hate him.
Yeah.
So I quite like him, and amazingly Maria hates him. Like, doesn't like his music.
So she loved the idea of this show then. I imagine.
But she was the one who suggested paying the fucking $200 to go see this thing.
$200.
Yeah, for 2 tickets.
Jesus.
Yeah, so already I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I like him, but I mean, I'm not $200 like him. And more to the point, I don't really care for acrobatics or anything like that. So I don't know. There was no point of this. Like, I guess we were desperate to make Vegas feel like it had a reason, you know.
Okay.
So we were trying to get something out of it. And we were turning desperate apparently. So we went to this show, and I mean, it was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had in my life. It was kind of like entering a cult from the outside.
Yeah.
Everything about it was like creepily adoring Michael Jackson to the point where it was beyond just his music and beyond the fact that he was like an icon to making him some sort of weird god who could never die.
That's a bit strange.
Oh dear.
It was creepy as fuck. I mean, before it even started, some guy in the audience just went, "Michael!" And like, that was like, just screamed at the top of his lungs. It was insane. And then, like, and there was no prompt. It was like, there was some, like, bits and pieces of his tracks playing before the show had started. And just as something of that triggered this man to scream at the top of his lungs the guy's name. I mean, it's bizarre. But then beyond that, holy shit, yeah, the actual show itself, it was a lot of people trampolining through hoops to various Michael Jackson songs. And I mean, it was tedious, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Also, like, there was like a story, kinda, but it made no fucking sense. And I tried to not pay attention to it because it was getting in the way of some interesting acrobatics. But at the same time, they kept like stopping the show to remind us they're looking for 4 sacred items of Michael Jackson, or like his hats, or his hat and his shoes and his glove. it was one of the weirdest fucking experiences. And it kind of topped off. There was like a hologram, you know, like the Tupac hologram and the Freddie Mercury hologram, that kind of thing. They did one of those for Michael Jackson during the show. And I mean, I was kind of impressive, but then also horrifying at the same time. It was just, it kind of warped. Like, he kind of dissipated off stage and reappeared at other points of the stage. I was just like, oh, he could be anywhere. He could be dancing and screaming at us all. And basically everybody on stage was praising him and begging and hailing him as some sort of creepy god. It was just weird, man, and it cost a lot of money. It was just a depressing like footnote on the whole Vegas experience, and something that like the day after we forgot we did, and then like every 2 days from there onwards we'd be like, holy shit, did you remember the Michael Jackson thing? And like, oh my god, what happened?
It sounds like he was a big fan of America.
I'm sure there's like lots of great things there. I just like the thing I liked most was kind of driving, because we drove it.
How did
But
you
then
find driving on the other side of the road?
That was easy. I found that actually really. I guess when you spend so much of your time like playing games like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you kind of adapt mentally into driving on the right hand side at some point in your life.
Yeah. Because
But-
I'd love to do like an American road trip with Jack.
Yeah.
And I guess Kat can tag along as well. But I feel like that would make some great podcast content.
Absolutely. I mean, getting your on the cuff commentary of the things you see that day, that would be amazing, actually.
Yeah, and we could have like a very literal culture swap.
Yeah, with no one in particular, like between each other, somebody else's culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if you're gonna do like a road trip, the thing was we kind of had like over like 14 days, we drove like 9 or 10 of them. That was way too much. I would say like drive every 3 days.
Yeah.
And then you'll not burn yourself out. Or if you're going to do like a back-to-back driving, have it like be a small part of the holiday, like 3 days back-to-back, seeing things, and then from there on like staying somewhere and honing in on what the fuck's there for like a week or 5 days or something long before you go back out, because that driving, although I loved it, it killed me. I couldn't enjoy every place we went because I was trying to make up for the energy of getting there in the first place. So it was like bad enough that America was like exhausting. It was also my fault for making it exhausting. So I guess like it colors all of the expectations except Vegas, where we hadn't drove anywhere yet. We stayed there for like 3 days. So that's where like my memories are the firmest that I was right about it sucking.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, like I could understand an argument against it.
So what was your issue with LA?
The weird thing about like, because we were like smack dab in Hollywood, like we were at the Roosevelt Hotel, so that was across from the Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
The weird thing about that area is that basically the only people there are sad people. They are people who are trying to make it in LA, and therefore they're doing shit jobs. Like, you know, they're slumming it for poor pay at like a barista job or something like that, while also doing like acting roles on the side or music. I could see a bunch of like well dressed, cool looking kids like backpacking across town to their fucking coffee jobs and their subway jobs, and that just instantly depressed me because they were trying so hard. So I couldn't detach that. And then the other side of it is nobody like famous actually would ever go to Hollywood. But it's full of people looking for them.
Yeah.
So it's full of these desperate, sad people who are like stalking every corner with cameras, looking here and there for people who look even vaguely famous. And that also irked me. I was like, it was just like a combination of two of the most depressing positions you could be in life. Like obsessed with celebrity culture or on the bottom end of celebrity culture.
Yeah.
And so anytime I stepped outside the hotel, I was just surrounded by people that, and the third type of people that were there were homeless people. So I mean, it was just like utter depression every day I stepped outside the hotel. I was like, this place is really sad. It's like it should be nice, but it's also quite an ugly city, full of sad people. And the best part about it was the part where we left it and went to well, that already sounds bad. The part where we left it and went to the Universal Studios on a whim, and that was great. I mean, Universal Studios was awesome. I got to meet a Transformer, and we got to watch the Baywatch movie with Zac Efron, which was actually quite a good time.
Yeah, I love that movie, but I love Zac Efron. So
yeah, well, I imagined you would love it.
Yeah, to be honest, this is just delightful for me that we can now talk about Zac Efron, and I haven't had to instigate the conversation.
Yeah,
because like, isn't he just like totally dreamy in that movie?
Yeah, I mean, like I have always kind of got the appeal, but very recently he has got some kick-ass roles. He really has cornered the market on dude bro comedy. He fucking nails it, man. Like, each of those films with like Seth Rogen and stuff I watch him in, he genuinely makes me laugh my ass off. So I mean, he's a ticking time bomb of how long that can last for. But I hope he continues to make use of it with things like this.
Well, that's the thing.
his sweet bod goes, and then he goes back to dramatic roles, which are okay as well. So I mean, he's got it going.
I think he's aware of that because last I heard, he'd signed up to star in a movie about Ted Bundy, playing Ted Bundy.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I feel like the way I've kind of seen his career, you had the High School Musical days, and then he did Hairspray, and then he like made a very conscious, deliberate attempt to move away from that image.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of fallen into this like bro kind of frat boy kind of image, and now I feel like we're going to see him make another conscious attempt to start moving away from that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that kind of makes sense because he's kind of done probably as much as he can. I mean, Baywatch is probably the last real hurrah of that genre he could do.
Yeah, although if they could do a sequel, I'd be so happy because I feel like him and The Rock have such good chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, like that's it was Maria's favorite film of the year so far, and I mean it was kind of because the cinema in America, they had like lounge seats, like you pressed the button and you like it unfolded, so you were basically lying down watching the film, which is like the laziest thing I've ever seen, but it also was the first time a cinema experience dramatically improved the film I was watching.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I genuinely thought it was. I mean, it was like literally inoffensive, but it was also quite funny. And I kind of have liked this turn in his career, but I'm happy for him to move on. And I mean, Maria's going to be watching everything he's doing anyway, so I mean, I'll be there.
Perfect. I mean, I try and get Jack to watch all of his films, but you know, I can only get like small victories here and there. Although, go on, Jack.
I was going to say I'm not like, I don't get the fixation on an actor and like seeing all their work that I know you have, Liam.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So to me, it's like if the film looks good, like I want to see Baywatch because you've now heard from two people that it's a pretty good film.
Yeah.
But like,
and obviously I'm
it's not
biased.
because I know you're biased, which is why when you told me it was good, I was like, well, maybe I'll wait and see what other people think.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, just because The Rock and Zac Efron are in it hasn't made me go, oh, I've got to go see that film.
Yeah. I think for me, like that actor thing, like I like to see all of their work because I like to watch their progression as well. Like you can see from like the Derby Stallion even to High School Musical, he's learnt so much in that time as an actor.
Sure. Yeah, but you've got to remember as well, Liam, that I don't remember actors from
that's
just
true.
their name. So me seeing the same actor in multiple films, like I don't see a progression because I don't know it's them.
Yeah, you can completely disassociate from the actor and just completely invest in the characters.
I mean, that's the ideal like life to live, really. You know, you're not supposed to see the actor; you're supposed to see the role. So, I mean, you've got probably the most enviable brain of all time, Jack.
Whoa!
I wouldn't say that, but
well, no, Lee said it, so that's what we're going with.
Yeah, but I feel like there's definitely some actors, like Tom Cruise, gets cast to essentially just play Tom Cruise now.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
yeah,
he's always been good at Tom Cruise, so I mean, there's not really much to take
I
away
feel
from
like
him there.
the way he approaches movies is he's just like, what's the most ridiculous stunt they're gonna let me do for this film?
Yeah,
I feel like he doesn't even care about acting anymore. It's just for him. He loves the adrenaline of doing these ridiculous stunts.
I mean, fair enough.
Didn't he?
He does some
Didn't
cool
he get
stunts.
hurt really badly recently?
Yeah, doing something for the next Mission Impossible, I think.
That's it.
It was inevitable. I mean, you can't keep
Oh, yeah.
getting away with that. And the guy's in his 50s, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a slippery slope, that time thing.
What have you been up to, Jack?
I went to Woking and you stole it from me, so nothing.
Cool.
I thought you lived in Woking.
I don't live in Woking. I've just got a friend. I've got a friend who lives there, so I know what it's like.
To live there.
I've experienced it. It's backwards. None of them know about technology and the future, and they're all scared of dogs. Move on.
Which, really, you'd think it would be a perfect place for me, but nah.
No, it's weird that, man.
Or H&B or a comic book store. So,
I need my things.
basically, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I know what else you were doing, Jack, if you want some help.
Yeah, go on.
You was planning a D&D campaign.
Yeah, that's true, which at this point we have played, but we're not going to talk about on this yet. So I'll talk about the planning. I've been planning a D&D campaign for Liam, Tom, who has done art for us on the Twitter page, and Tom's girlfriend, Frankie.
Yep.
It's been a lot of work, Liam.
Yeah, I know, and I hope it's worth it.
Well, you know at this point whether it was worth it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like that you're keeping up with the fiction.
Yeah, I mean, you put a lot of effort in, Jack, and well done, I guess.
You're so worried about the level of effort I've gone into for this.
If you put that much effort into the podcast, I'd be so happy.
I edit this fucking podcast every week.
Let me ask you a question, Jack. How many hours in a week do you think you put into the D&D planning?
Okay, if I do the week that was the build up to the actual game,
Yeah.
then it was probably minimum an hour a day.
It was probably more than that, let's be honest.
Yeah, all right, let's say a minimum of 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days where I did maybe double that. So let's say 7 to 14 plus an extra 4 hours. So 18 hours in a week.
Does it take you 18 hours to edit one episode of Nerd on Nerd
Nah,
every
it takes
2
me
weeks?
about 3 hours.
Yeah, I would hope not.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. If you put that much effort into Nerd on Nerd, I'd be so happy.
But instead, Liam, you get to experience my fantastical mind and the world it creates.
Honestly, I'm struggling with the maps. That's the thing that's doing my head in the most.
Why?
Why?
I prefer the imagination. I much prefer...
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You have actual maps?
So
made out?
Yeah.
So the way I've done it, Lee, is there's so say that the guys are having for example, in the first episode, I'm going to fucking talk about it, Liam. You've ruined it by getting me angry about the maps. They had a fight in this market square place.
Right, yeah.
And for that, I had found a map that was of a market. I'd set that up, put all the monsters and stuff on it. So, because I find that in D&D, when you're doing a battle, it's all well and good using your imagination, but when 6 walking plants attack someone, me as the DM, if we're doing it imagination, I've got to remember where everyone is.
Yeah.
For Liam,
okay,
he
so
can just
no,
Jack, where am I?
Here's
And I
the
can
thing.
go, oh, you're next to this thing.
You have a map for the battles, right? And you could just draw that on the fly. You could be like, okay, so here's a 40-foot radius.
No, you couldn't draw it on the fly.
You could.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, you could be like, here's a 40-foot radius.
You don't understand.
You guys are here. The enemies are here. Go. It's the fact that the next bit we then had to do was walk down an alleyway, right? And it was literally just
which
us
had a
walking
fight
down.
in it.
And yeah, you didn't need a map for that.
You did for the fight.
No, you didn't.
You do.
You don't.
Right. The other issue, Liam, is this again comes back to your primary problem that I've always told you is your primary problem, is you're very selfish in that you want something to be your way, and if anyone doesn't think that's the right way, your head is I just can't comprehend anyone else. So Tom has played D&D once before with me.
Yeah.
Maybe twice.
Yeah.
Frankie has never played D&D.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to ease Frankie into it by giving her the easiest way of doing it, which is having a battle map. There will be imagination, Liam. It's just so far you haven't had an encounter that doesn't need a battle map.
That seems fair.
Thank you.
No, it doesn't. It's ridiculous. Honestly, Lee, if you could have seen, I'll give him the marketplace one, right? I'll give him that. Yeah, it helps to have it for the battle. Doesn't necessarily help for everything else, but for the battle, yeah. But for the alleyway, it's literally, okay, imagine a capital I with the dangly bits on. Do you know what? I don't know.
Yeah,
They've got a name for them,
I
haven't
don't know.
they?
Yeah, capital I. I know what you mean.
Yeah. That's what the alley looked like. It looked like a capital I. Okay. We walked along the top bit, down through the column of the middle of the eye, and then the battle was along the bottom, bit that the eye stands on.
The expanse. Yeah.
Don't think you need a map for that. Just explained it.
Yeah, right. But again, you don't need a map, but the map helps you lets you position things. You don't need a ton of stuff for D&D. You can play D&D without character sheets. You can play it just as a core, here are the rules, this is how you roll the dice. I just think it's more interesting to have visual guides for people. You can use your fucking imagination.
Yeah, but I think the map gets in the way of the imagination sometimes. Because
Well,
sometimes it's
unfortunately,
really
Liam,
hard.
you're not the DM, so go fuck yourself.
Sometimes
Your
it's-
character's going to die.
Sometimes it's really hard to when you're
We've
imagine
played
this.
one game.
Yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed
You need
the
to
rest
chill
of
your
it.
socks.
I enjoyed the rest of it. I just have beef with the maps because
I honestly don't give a crap.
I don't care.
Maybe
I'm
next
talking to
time,
Lee about this.
just blindfold yourself, and then there are no maps.
I can set it up so that Liam's character doesn't have sight because we're using an online thing. So Liam's character could literally just be plunged into darkness. So maybe I'll do that on the next battle map.
Yeah, but then you would have to get better at describing everything because I wouldn't have the map to look at.
Yeah, I haven't had to describe a lot of stuff yet.
Because you've had the map.
Jesus Christ, Liam.
gets in the way of my imagination and your descriptions.
You need to chill yourself out. You're a
I'm
player
very
character.
chilled.
You do not know what goes into being a DM. Stop criticising how I DM the game.
Literally, it's just the maps. Everything else was fine. Because the other thing, right, Lee, let me just kind of see if I can get you on my side with this, right?
This guy's so getting dragged in the middle of this, like in the Force case.
Lee, which one of us is right?
Right.
No one!
The issue I have with the map, okay, is to me, it makes the story feel very restrictive, because I now don't know, for example, I feel like if I wanted to do something and go completely, like, you know, off script, if you will, if Jack didn't have a map ready for it,
I fucking told you already.
It would become either very obvious that I've gone like off script because there's not a map prepared. So the maps to me they start making things feel like I'm following a very deliberate storyline, which therefore takes away my like agency in it.
So, but you definitely can break those rules, can't you? I mean, like, if you say, if that alley is an I shape, I mean, there might be windows in the doors you could sneak around in the neighboring buildings or something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be on the map, so you just have your imagination triumph over the map, I suppose.
That's the thing, and it's very hard, because I'm quite lazy, so I see a map and I go, I'll just go to where that door is on the map.
Wait, yeah, but then what? I'm so confused by what your issue is, because it's now sounding like your issue is that you're lazy, which at this point stops being Liam has a problem with my maps and just becomes Liam's upset that he's too lazy to do shit.
Well, if I didn't have the map, I'd be forced to use my little brain box, wouldn't I?
I've already said to Liam Lee that he is allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants. They've already gone off piece of what I was planning. I've explained that to him. I think what this really boils down to is, I don't remember what episode number it is, but very early on in Nerd on Nerd, we had an episode about Dungeons and Dragons where Liam threw a hissy fit and told me that I would be the worst DM and he would hate it. So I think what's happening is Liam just doesn't want to admit that I can DM a game.
No, I gave you credit. I said everything else that you DM'd was fine. It's just this one element. And I wouldn't even mind, right, if it was like, if you were like, okay, so Tom and Frankie are new at this. We're going to use the maps for like the first like part of the campaign to ease them in.
No, but I prefer having the maps because I find it difficult to have 8 creatures that I've got to keep track of.
Do you just draw a crude map when there's a battle?
Why? If I can get a downloaded map that looks way better than something I'm going to draw, why does it matter that the map is more detailed?
Because I don't like it.
See, exactly. It's a pathetic reason. This is the same as the Studio Ghibli argument, Liam. I'm not going over it with you. D&D was great. Shut your mouth.
So from Jack's perspective it was great, and from my perspective it was decent, but like
it
room
could be
for
improved.
improvement.
Yeah. That's funny, like the in that fucking interlude between this re-recording, I actually organized and hosted our own D&D party in the the apartment.
Oh wow, how did that go?
It was quite good. I mean, we discovered a few things that we're going to have to change for next time. One being like drinking. Everybody was drinking. Things got a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
So like that's probably going to get fucked out the window. But ultimately, I mean, it's in the space of like 3 hours. It took us that amount of time to leave a building, go to another building, talk to a dude. And then we started like a miscellaneous side story where we went to a farm to get a chicken, and we bartered for a chicken that we didn't need, and then we got to the place where we thought we'd use the chicken, and then it had like 0. I think we did manage to find a way to use it, but it was fucking ridiculous. I mean, for the most, and then we got in the middle of a fight, and then everybody was too tired and drunk to figure out what to do with the fight, so we just stopped. Oh, we had tried to fight this dude, and we everybody took a turn at hitting him, and I think we all took equally 3 turns to beat this one goon, which was fucking terrible. It was just like shit luck. Like, they just could not get the rules we needed just to kill this one guy, and there were like 4 guys in the wings waiting to take on.
So were you DMing or were you playing?
I wasn't DMing. Lawrence, who writes for Big Picture Reviews, he was DMing.
Oh, okay.
So because I don't have time to wrap my head around the multitude of shit you have to read, but what I did do was I bought some sort of books, you know, that sort of have these adventures already started out, because they're good for beginners to have these little mini adventures. already mapped out for us, and we didn't have maps, but we did have little pieces from Settlers of Catan.
Okay.
We had the little houses, and we had built. Lawrence had built a little village to give us the shape of the village. And then that was it. From there on, we sort of knew where was north and east until we knocked all the pieces down, and then that was totally useless.
That sounds like almost like a perfect compromise. That you don't have a massively detailed map; you just have a kind of rough, sketch of
here
where
are the
things
features.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And also take a lot less time to do.
I'm just ignoring Liam at this point. Yeah, I find, Lee, that it's weird that, like you were saying about how long it takes to do things. Like, every time I've done a game of D&D and I always overplan it, and I'm like, oh god, I've got to have all this ready, because what happens if I get
we
past
burn
this
through
bit?
it. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you sit down. Like, the best example of it I've ever had was when I played with my friends, and we had it, all physical, sitting around a table.
Yeah.
I'd set up this whole thing. I was all excited about it, and one of my friends spent like way too long just talking to people. Then they eventually left this tavern and had started walking, and I was like, cool, the quest, like, we're about to get in combat. And then he went, oh, I didn't pick up my hat from the tavern. So we had to spend 10 minutes of story of him travelling back to this tavern because he'd left his hat on a wall. And I was like, Jesus, fuck it, we're not going to get anywhere.
That's amazing. I mean, that's
also one of the best things.
That's the kind of one of the best things about those games is that you really can just fucking meander in 100 directions and waste your own time, but it all becomes an entertaining story regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get a story out of it, and that's like the important bit, I think.
Exactly.
When people can go, we did this cool thing in D&D. That's my favourite thing.
Yeah, the story is the important bit, not the maps.
Liam, I swear to God, I will hang up on this call.
Way to twist it.
No, I'm just pleased that we all agreed, that's all. Is that it for catching
You're
up?
going to struggle tomorrow when I remove your character's site and maybe just delete him from the game.
I don't think I will struggle with that. I'll just go, cool, bye. That sounds like a very easy solution.
For everyone.
Yeah. No, it's
right.
It is interesting.
God, are you making more points?
Yeah, it is interesting playing with like two people who I'm aware that haven't played it before, because I've been doing it for like a year and a half now.
Yeah,
right.
And it's fascinating just seeing like the different ways that people play.
Yeah.
Like it's also interesting seeing the different ways that the DMs kind of solve problems, because there was definitely
or create
like
problems in your view.
Yeah, we almost had like a slight issue where one of the players, they just couldn't quite figure out why their character would hang out with everyone else's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one of our characters is like two of them, Liam's and Tom's, are both like these sort of rich, come from like fairly rich families and are a bit snobby. And Frankie's character is an orphan that grew up on the streets who hates nobles. So her character has a real tough time. Like I was having to try and figure out how to get her character to team up with anyone.
Yeah.
Which
in the end ended up being a fairly heavy-handed way of doing it, but they have to be a party because I need them to work together.
Together. I mean, that's exactly the same problem we had in R1. I mean, this was my first actual time doing this, but like I had picked a sort of straight-laced paladin character, so like I was going to be the guy to kind of try and steer the story and sort of be on the GM side and try to get everything go the way it has to go. Even because I knew everybody was going to fuck around. But my brother, who was playing, he picked like a chaotic evil frog dude.
All right.
And basically there was a huge issue at the start trying to figure out why like his character pretty much every now and then goes out of his way to pray to a dark lord for the power to kill things and shit like that. And my guy would have like an issue with it, so we kept having to find excuses like, I didn't see it happen. Or we just got lucky. Just shit like that just to keep it all together. And that kind of license kind of does take away a little bit of the, I don't know, immersion of the story where we have to go like, and that's why we can still play.
Yeah. Well, we tried to have a go at recording it as well, which just failed miserably, and it's very sad. But it would be cool, I think, down the road, once everyone's a bit more comfortable with it, to have like people come on as like almost like with a guest character for like a small skirmish.
Well, I mean that would be cool, but that's fucking my decision as the DM, Liam, because I'm the one that will have to do all the work for that. So don't you start making promises.
I'm not making any promises. I'm just saying what would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Harmon Quest?
Yeah, I love Harmon Quest.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just thinking that's a kind of cool way. I mean, obviously you can't do animated bits, but the way they do guest characters when they come on the show, they have this one guy who comes on for one episode and he plays a part and then usually dies, sometimes doesn't.
Yeah.
But helps them through a small part of the quest. That kind of, I think that setup kind of really worked with regards to keeping the show interesting as it went along the story. So, I mean, you could absolutely just outright steal that.
Yeah, but it would be even better if we could have figured out a way of recording it.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see down the line if we can figure out a way of doing it properly.
I don't know how though, because it feels like because we've got because I've got an Apple, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's what I'm saying. Like down the road, because I don't think it's one of those things. Like I don't know if you've ever seen, Lee, this group called Critical Role.
I think I have. I'm not entirely sure.
It's a bunch of like famous voice actors who do video games, and they had this campaign that they all played for years, and then eventually like Geek and Sundry, Felicia Day's YouTube channel and Twitch channel, they were like, oh, you should come on and do it on here. So they've just like literally it started just in the middle of this group's quest together, but that worked. Like they made like a little back roll thing that played for the first few episodes that was like, here's how we got to where we are.
Here's what happened. Yeah.
But that worked.
There's a lot of creative ways you could probably do it. I mean, like, it could be like, to steal one of Liam's ideas for your own mumblecore film, it could be half documentary, where, like, you kind of, while you're filming or recording, you're actually, like, they have a narrator summarizing what had happened, and then just kind of clips of arguments and, like, and little bits. So you're not, like, it's not, like, a 4-hour long video of people like debating on decisions and shit like that, but it's actually like a neat like 1 hour video where it's like the group then made their way to the thing, and you could have really crudely drawn maps and stuff like that to sort of illustrate like where and why and what happened, and little doodles to come up in the place of actual action, and then you could cut to the real life thing. I think that'd be funny. And it would totally save you 40 years trying to piece it all together.
That's true.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah. What? Should we go on to the next bit, Liam?
Yeah, I went to the cinema.
Here's your spoiler-free reviews of the things that you saw at the cinema.
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago now.
All right.
So,
hopefully this time then, Liam, they'll be shorter.
No. I went to see an unlimited screening of Patti Cakes, so you would have had a really exclusive review of it before it came out, but now it's been out for like a week.
Gold.
It's basically... I went in thinking it would be like a lady version of 8 Mile, but it's not. It's good. I like the music. I like the performances. There's a few bits where it kind of like the main character has these like flights of fantasy that they didn't all quite work for me. But overall, I had and there was one like storyline that was just a little bit too obvious. But everything else I really enjoyed. It was a good film. 4 out of 5. Patti Cakes. It's been out for ages. If you wanted to see it, you'd have seen it by now.
Cool.
I haven't seen it yet, but your previous recommendation was grand. I would have seen it, except it actually stopped being here for a small period of time and then came back. And
really?
Thrown me off all over the place. So like, I don't know if it's happening or not.
Fair enough. I mean, it's rare for me to give something a 4 out of 5, so that should kind of be a.
It is absolutely, that's a big push.
Yeah,
that's like Baywatch, like level of
that's better than Baywatch.
Just beneath. That's better than Baywatch.
Yeah, Baywatch got 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Wow, that's quite harsh for the Efron fan.
Well, Baywatch made a few little silly mistakes. Like, I hated the fact that it gave away the cameos in the opening credits.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember listening to this. Yeah. You were totally right too. There were a good number of issues in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I do try to be fair, and I try to not let my bias just sort of cloud things and just be like, oh my god, it's Zac Efron's abs, so 5 out of 5. Like,
yeah, I mean that's the most challenging thing, right?
Yeah,
like you have every reason to love a film, but that's when you have to take yourself aside and go, but what else?
Exactly. Like, yeah, he has like loads of abs, but I can't give it loads of abs out of 5. That's not a rating.
That's not a rating.
I also saw Logan Lucky. You guys had seen the trailer last time we spoke about it. I said to you, what age rating does this trailer look like? You both said
I thought it'd be like
it would look 18
15
or
or
15
18.
or something like that. Yeah.
But actually it was a 12A, and then I told this story about how we were queuing up to get popcorn and there was a family in front of us, and that was when I was first concerned because one of the kids turned to another of the kids and was like, "Oh, we're going to go see Lucky Logan," and I was like, "What the hell are kids doing in this showing?" And then it turns out it's because the film isn't very good and it's a 12A, and it's just alright. Like, Channing Tatum's having a good time. I like Adam Driver. Daniel Craig's just having a ball with his accent. But the actual story, like the actual heist, it all goes like way too smoothly. And yes, 3 out of 5.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
And then I had some Netflix things. Is this a better pace for you, Jack? Are we getting through this quicker?
Yeah, go for it. This is
Sweet.
great.
All right, cool. I watched season 2 of Last Chance U on Netflix. It's a documentary. It's about American football. It's an East Mississippi community college. So basically, I don't know a lot about American football, right? So I'm going to do a little bit of guessing here. But from what I can gather, there's certain colleges that if you go there to play football, there's a lot of exposure and they have like a lot of scouts, and like you stand a good chance, if you're like good enough, of actually being kind of employed by a proper team, okay?
Yeah.
Last Chance U is this like community college where if say you've got a bit of a troubled background, or maybe you've gone to one of these colleges and your grades have slipped, or maybe you've got in some trouble with the law or something, if you've been booted out of one of these good colleges but you still are like an amazing athlete, this college will kind of swoop in and they'll try and get your grades back up to scratch, and they don't tend to like judge you on your like criminal past or whatever. They just make sure you're on the right path now, hence why it's called Last Chance U, essentially, because it's giving these players a last chance. The second season's out. It's not as good as the first season, but it's still fascinating. It shows like the coaches, and it shows the players, and it shows this like school counsellor who kind of helps the kids, and they kind of go to have like a confidant. It's really good. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, last time you mentioned this, I didn't realize that you were actually talking about a documentary.
Yeah.
This time I am aware of that, but I also don't know if you said it was a documentary while you were describing it again. So
no, I think
that's
I did.
why, because it sounds like such a great like dramatic TV show setup.
Yeah.
It sounds too fanciful, and there's lots of opportunities to make genuine drama out of that. But the fact that it's real is crazy, and all the more interesting for it.
Yeah, and like don't get me wrong. So 4 out of 5 for the second season. The first season is marginally better.
Yeah.
It's just, I think you don't even really need to like American football to enjoy it. Because it is like this. There is that human drama element to it where you're seeing these kids kind of, you know, they're being like put through hell just training to play these football games. But then you have the academic side of it as well, where you know they have to be showing up to class on time, and it's that whole like lifestyle behind it that I think you don't really get to see when you just see these like star athletes. You don't see the grueling work that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, like, desperate second chances always makes for good watching, you know. You always want to be on the side of people trying to get their lives together.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that just sounds like total watchable, you know, you could put that on anytime. So,
yeah,
definitely, it sounds great.
And it's also available on Netflix in 4K, so it just looks beautiful as well. Then I saw The Defenders, and yeah, it takes a bit too long for the Defenders to all get together. It takes like 2 episodes, but then when they are finally together, it's quite good. It's only 8 episodes, which is good because like all the other shows go on a little bit too long. This one kind of leaves you wanting more. The like interplay of the dynamics between the main characters are really fascinating, and it's 3.5 out of 5.
Yep,
fair enough.
Last one. Atypical. It's brilliant. It's just so good. It's about this 18-year-old who's in high school. I love my coming of age stuff, so this is like right up my street. He's on the spectrum with autism, and he decides that he wants to try dating. And you kind of get to see the family life and what it's like for the mum who has a son with autism, what it's like for the dad, and he also has a sister who is just delightful and is a fascinating character, and she's just feisty and strong and brilliant, and I love her. She's just brilliant. I love her so much. It's 8 episodes long, and I really want more people to see it because I really want a second season because it's just so good. It's funny, but there's like parts of it that are quite dramatic, and they walk that tightrope balance just brilliantly. And everyone I've spoken to who has then gone to watch it, they've all come back saying that they enjoyed it. So I don't know if it's not being advertised very well on Netflix, or I don't know why.
It always
I'm not
feels that
seeing...
way. Like the shows you want to succeed don't get enough exposure.
Yeah.
Or they never feel like they do when they're on Netflix because you don't see adverts for it.
Yeah, and I don't see like
anywhere.
people on Twitter talking about it a lot either.
Yeah, that's true.
Netflix's whole model is a little bit weird at the moment. Like, when you go on Netflix, you see these lists and lists of Netflix original content
that you've never heard of.
Yeah, it's weird.
Do you know what really fucks me off about Netflix?
Yeah, go on. You sound very angry about it.
You've started on a good note.
It's the fact that they've got rid of their rating system where it used to be a 5-star rating.
Yeah, right.
And okay, like I was initially a little bit irked because you couldn't do half stars on Netflix, but whatever. I can live with that. But now it's just a thumbs up and thumbs down, and nothing is that binary. Like, I could watch a show, like if I watched a show that was 3 out of 5, is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down? I don't know.
Yeah. Is it though that you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but it gives you a percentage to whether you'd like it, given the amount of thumbs up next to other material like it you've
but
liked?
I feel like
that system just feels flawed.
Exactly.
To me,
and I don't get why you'd remove the star rating thing, because they could surely have used the star ratings to given you a much more accurate percentage of things that you would like or not like, right? So I just hate it. Feels like at the moment, like looking on Twitter and stuff, it's people either have to absolutely love something or absolutely hate something, and there's very little kind of grey area in between. But I find, like, someone like me who watches so much content, the majority of stuff that I watch falls in that in-between area where it's like maybe absolutely. 3.5 to 2.5. And I hate that just everything just seems to be either people love it and go crazy for it, or just hate it and it's the worst thing ever. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Atypical is brilliant. I love it. It's amazing. You need to watch it. 4.5 out of 5. Thumbs up.
I actually, on your recommendation last time, I did get around to watching the first episode at least, and can say that it was really good. It's really funny and quite cute, and the characters you describe are well described. The sister really was a very cool, interesting character who just who gives enough shits to be interesting, but not enough shits to be bothered by stuff.
Yeah,
and the main character is instantly accessible and enjoyable, and just a very supportable character. Last time you said that the mother might accidentally get tarred with the wrong brush.
Yeah,
because somebody has to play the villain role, and she kind of falls into it.
Yeah,
and I could see where that's starting to sort of the little bits and pieces of that are starting to come together. Where I'm kind of going, that's a shame that somebody has to fall that.
It's a shame that it's the mother, because it's such a trope with American TV. It's like when we did Ozark. It's the same thing where the wife in that kind of is tarred with a very similar brush, and it's just, I don't know why it always seems to be like the female, like, matriarchal characters that end up like that.
Yeah.
Like Breaking Bad, same issue. Walking Dead, Dexter. It's always like you have these like interesting, morally grey male protagonists, and for some reason they're like, well, we need to give them more obstacles, and one of them is just going to be a woman in their life. Like it just seems really weird to me.
I guess when it's like either written by a man or it stars male characters, a lot of people might associate like the one thing that will confuse the men's view of life is emotion, which they automatically associate with women for some reason.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them can also harbor, like, resentment to that emotionality from their own mothers and stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. It always has felt weird to me. I've never really quite understood it. But it is a shame. I mean, to be fair, I know, like, people on the spectrum who do kind of have that kind of relationship with their mother.
Yeah.
So it might be coming from a real place, and it just happens to be unfortunate that it's associated with this film. This TV series.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels like, even if you wanted to, if this is the same show that can bring a character like that sister character, it feels very real and very modern in how to actually write female characters. Why couldn't they have applied the same to the mother character? And made,
that's the thing. Like
at least switched her role with the father, because Why,
I mean, well-
like another like airy, difficult father who tries to understand like the patriarchal
Yeah.
understanding of the son. Why don't we toss the pigskin more,
Yeah.
son? Like that kind of relationship.
To be fair,
why can't that be like something similar for the mother, and then the mother be that kind of, or the father be that kind of emotional,
yeah.
stay-at-home character? It feels like there could have been an opportunity to kind of mess around there, but
I mean, the thing is, the way they've written the mum character, I totally see where she's coming from, and like they do a good job of justifying like how she gets into that situation. It's still just like, out of all of the characters, that's the most frustrating storyline to watch. I did like, as it plays out, I did really end up liking the father-son dynamic in that relationship.
yeah. I mean, that's a really cool dynamic as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like the pieces make sense. I just guess that like you could do better making statements.
Yeah.
In like modern society by kind of messing around with these sort of stereotypes.
Yeah,
but the
exactly.
stereotypes are still good. They're well written. Like
Yeah.
I get why the mother is who she is, and I get the father again is like, I get it. Like I mean, I liked him instantly for how dopey he is.
It's a difficult one because I guess like for me with Atypical, I'm not necessarily faulting the show for what they do with the mother character. It's more the fact that it just falls in with this like emerging trend, and that's not necessarily, I can't just put that entirely on the show. It's not the fault of the show. It's just, to me, frustrating that it keeps happening.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's wanting too much.
That's the perfect issue I have with everything. I just want too much.
When something gives you almost everything, but then has one thing that it just feels like it's a bigger problem than it might be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just a lot to do with like the world we live in at the moment, that you kind of hope for change from the things that you like the most.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why this kind of stands out more.
I keep recommending Jack to watch Atypical, but I don't know. Equally, we were supposed to do a Defenders special, and how's that going? Because last time we spoke, so over a week ago now, you said you were going to start working on getting ready for the Defenders. So how's that going, Jack?
I've still got to watch Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Defenders.
So since we last spoke, how many episodes have you done?
Of Marvel-related TV shows?
Yeah.
None.
So yeah, so the Defenders special, that's definitely
Coming soon.
coming at some indeterminate point in the future.
Yeah, 3 months down the line is when you want your Defenders hot take.
Yeah, when I've forgotten
like to
everything
point out-
about it.
I'd like to point out, Liam,
Yeah.
that I believe that on the episode that has been lost, you and Lee sort of came to, I don't know if it was an official deal, but it was a deal of sorts, in that you both had shows that you really liked on Netflix that you wanted to get a second season, and you were like, oh, well, if we both watch it and then sort of, advertise the other one, that's more. We're going to get more people watching it. And it sounds to me like Lee's done that. Lee watched Atypical and he enjoyed it. So, Liam, how are you doing with the OA?
The OA.
Because that was the deal. It was Lee really liked the OA, if I remember rightly, and was excited
that
about.
is entirely right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And it
how's that
was
going, Liam?
Britt Marling, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I suggested it to Kat because, bear in mind, like I have to run everything by Kat, and we looked at it, and the running time for the first episode was like an hour and a half. I
It's
think.
an hour and a half. Yeah.
And she
That's
went, "That's not." And we started watching Friends from College instead, which isn't very good. So.
Regret.
Yeah, I kind of wish we'd just done the OA, because now...
You work from home, Liam, and Kat is at work a lot of the time, and you get a lunch break, I assume, so you could theoretically watch it.
I get an hour lunch break, and as we just said, the first episode's an hour and a half, Jack.
Oh, yeah, no, so, like, wait for Kat to leave one morning, get up early, maybe, Liam, watch the OA,
you
get
met
that out of
me?
the way.
Get up early. Have you met me?
Yeah, you did it for a while. We had an episode where you were getting up early to go to the gym.
It was horrible.
You loved it.
I didn't.
It's over now. That part of my life is over.
Yeah, I've done the getting up early thing. Didn't stick.
Fair enough.
No, I do genuinely want to do the OA.
I know, yeah. I need to as well. It genuinely looks...
No, yeah, I mean, like, I knew that I was kind of jumping from the starting line by watching a episode of Atypical between the record, I guess. I didn't even mean to do it. I didn't really think about the fact that we'd have to talk about it again. I was just taking the recommendation, and I was kind of bored that night. It just happened to fall onto my lap, but I didn't really go out of my way or anything. So I can never expect that from another.
Well, that's fair enough then. Yeah, that's everything I did. Lee, have you been to the cinema or done anything?
Yeah. I mean, I'll keep your pace.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen 2 David Lynch films. I've seen Dune from 1984, which I've never read. It was fucking nuts. It was potentially, if you like surreal, I go into the David Lynch films because of their surreal edge. I like that kind of side of things, and when I went into this totally without knowing anything about the background of the film, I was doing it intentionally to try and see how surreal something would feel if I watched something without all the information required to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which worked out really well, because it was like watching a blockbuster from the eyes of like a 3-year-old. Because you don't know what the fuck's going on, you don't understand half the words they're saying, but you can kind of keep up. And I kind of enjoyed it for that element. It was gross and it was weird, and I genuinely think it's a well-made film. It's just like totally incoherent. And I don't think it would ever appease anybody who's read the book. So yeah, it was. I would say it was something like a 3 out of 5.
Okay,
I also watched Mulholland Drive, which I spent a little more time since we last talked, kind of thinking over what I really liked about it, and it kind of grew on me more and more.
Yeah.
The more I thought about the leaps and stuff, to the point that I actually have convinced myself I adore it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And that I'm actually very excited about watching it again, which is something that just doesn't really happen for me. Trying to watch films again. But also the thing is, I've stopped caring about actually understanding it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be sort of more of an experiential kind of film. And to me, it is one of the most entertaining and interesting experiences you could ever put yourself through. So I'm warming to it more and more each and every time I think about it. It's in all parts like a parody at the same time as a homage, and all together like the perfect summary of a love-hate relationship between a person and something. And I think that was like David Lynch with LA.
Yeah.
It feels so much like just a big, vague, angry love letter to a place. And I don't think I've ever thought of a film that's ever done it as well emotionally as Mulholland Drive has. So on reconsidering, I have no idea what fucking score I gave it last time, but I will make the leap and say it's a 5 out of 5. And
nice.
I will bear that brunt, and I will watch it again, and maybe I'll change my attitude to it, and that would be I'd be surprised if that actually happened, because I tend to only grow more fond of things with repeat viewings. So there's that. I watched the last season of Game of Thrones, which I won't talk about, because nobody ever wants to, without gated episodes.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever want to step into an episode and then have something that everybody, like, culturally people look forward to, spoiled for them.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It's very much riding its way to the end of that series. It's like a 3.5 out of 5. It was good.
Yeah, that's fine. We did a special on it where I think everyone else said that they really enjoyed it, and I liked it. It's a bit too exposition and fast paced for me this season.
Yeah,
They had too many maps for Liam.
I like when the imagination goes elsewhere. Other than that, I watched an amazing film, actually, just a couple of days after the recording, which was God's Own Country.
I've seen that out, but it didn't. Just judging it just literally by the poster, I was like, meh.
Yeah, I don't know if I can ever, like... It's going to be hard to explain why people should watch it.
Okay.
All I can really give them is that I adored it, and it's a 5 out of 5 for me. And they kind of it's quite simple story, It's about a farmhand, son of a farm owner, is kind of getting his dad's had a stroke, and he's losing his ability to walk and look after the farm. So this sort of young 20-year-old is being given the responsibility of running this farm, and they bring in a farmhand during, I think it's lambing season, to sort of help keep the farm going. And it's I think he's Romanian, and they work on the farm, and they develop like a gay relationship for each other. And it's really interesting because it's one of the most romantic films I've seen that's so close to reality.
Yeah.
It's very much like understated emotionally. It's very much these quiet, getting on with the job, but also this focus on these characters and what they need from each other. And the best part about it is that it doesn't... What I hate about romantic films is this sort of forbidden love element in which these aspects of like outside the relationship impact the relationship.
Yeah.
And that could have been so much the case in this film. Just for the hotbed that it sits on, conversation-wise, if you're talking about like homosexual relationships, if you're talking about immigrants, which people somehow have a problem with, these are like hot topics that people want to pick apart, and it's very much like if you set that in a rural backdrop, it's so open to potentially being about how the farming community says no to allowing this to happen and tears them apart. And I was dreading the story going that way, but it really doesn't. And thank fuck it doesn't. Because while that's kind of in the background, what's more important is that it focuses and zeroes in on how like a real relationship would kind of work in this scenario. And that's where like real romance actually kicks off, you know? So it's more about how these characters are the flaws themselves. They're not one-to-one suited for each other, and they have to try to come to terms with that to make the relationship work and make the scenario in which they live in work. And all of the drama doesn't come from like third parties. It actually comes from the characters themselves and how they see the world and how they see the sort of responsibility they have in life. And it's so good. It really just nails it to a T exactly how a relationship is supposed to feel. And I think it's one of the most like open and accessible romance films that anybody could watch. So it's a total, like, it was an A+ in my review on Big Picture Reviews, and it's a 5 out of 5 on Nerd on Nerd.
Oh, fair enough. So don't judge it by the poster.
Yeah, what's the poster is like two guys staring wistfully on a field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Guess it does have that vibe to it, so I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, fair enough. Jack.
But yeah, that's it.
Have you done anything, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read the third book in the Infection trilogy, Liam and Lee.
Yes.
I know everyone's hotly been waiting for the review of the final book. No one can wait. They're like, should I read the series? I just need to know if the final book's any good. It is. It's really good.
Yeah, because you left a bit of a cliffhanger in the last review where you were saying the way they've ended it, you're not sure how they could possibly do a third one.
Yeah, no, it ends in a very sort of, like, the series could have ended after book 2, and you would, like, there's a little bit sort of hinting at what might happen, but it could have ended there, and you'd be fine with it. But this third book just goes hog wild. It all kicks off. It's fucking awesome. It goes from, like, because the first book's sort of like them trying to control this mild infection. The second one's a sort of bigger version of that and what this infection is trying to do. And the third one is just full on, everything's gone to shit, what's going to happen.
They do sound like the dynamic in each book changes dramatically to the point where it feels like they would almost be totally different stories, like even feel-wise for each one.
Honestly, it does. Like, there's elements in the first one that are sort of, like the relationship between these two guys. Or no, the first one's sort of like, I don't know. The second one has like a lot more like relationship between the main characters and trying to deal with that. And the third one sort of, because you end up, some of those characters have left and aren't in it. And the third one shifts to two of the main characters, really. Introduces a couple more and then just sort of fucks their world up and is like, hey, now see how these characters deal with this. And it's amazing. And the stuff that happens to people you love in those books is not great. Like, in a oh good lord, why is this happening to this person that I've just spent 3 weeks falling in love with?
Right. And I mean, a lot when stories increase in scale, they tend to lose a lot of like the interpersonal stuff that people connect to as the story goes along. Do you think it manages to do enough of that to warrant how big the scale gets, or do you think the scale does ultimately take away from like some of the initial spark that got people interested in the series?
I think it manages to keep it pretty well. Like, this one, it has an interesting, like, with his other books, Scott Sigler, the author, or the other one I've read, which is Nocturnal, he does this weird, like, he jumps each chapter sort of focuses not on a different character, it like rotates around, so you get one character having chapters 1, 3 and whatever focused on them. And it does that with this, and each character sort of has a different view of what's happening. So sort of I think 2 or 3 have got a very like focused on them and what's happening to the people around them. So that's where you're getting the like character interaction that you want from the characters. And then I think there's 2 characters that are experiencing a much wider view of everything and how stuff's happening. So it manages to keep that focus on the characters you want to learn more about and see interact and build relationships, whilst also having these other characters just watch everything go wrong.
Yeah, right, cool.
I think I gave it a 4 out of 5, and if I didn't, I am now.
Yeah, makes sense. Which
so
was
it
your
the best in the series, or
Yeah.
which was which?
I think it's either this one or the first one. One of the two. They're all good, though.
answer.
So you're
Playing the fence on favourites.
pleased I recommended this book, this guide to you.
Yeah, you did a good job. Better than you did when you suggested Fluke. Oh, and just to let everyone know, I'm also halfway through American Psycho, which will hopefully be either next episode or the episode after.
And you're loving it, aren't you?
Oh, it's so... I don't want to say it's bad, because it's not. I'll say I'm having problems.
Yeah, but what about the book?
I'll leave it at that. What was that?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Huh?
Whatever. That's it. That's all I've done, because I'm boring.
No, I don't think that's fair.
I mean, that takes up so much time
Yeah, like
in
reading
comparison to the amount. To the amount that you can give to the show. It's depressing, really.
He's got all
when
those
you can,
maps he's got to
You can
build.
watch something for an hour and a half and then like talk about it for half an hour, and then you read something for like fucking 10 hours and you can talk about it for less time. It's incredible.
But I think the issue that Jack has as well is I imagine like with book clubs and stuff, like if you have a group of people that have all read the book, you could probably have like a really good, juicy, detailed description. I'm never going to read any of these books. So Jack's kind of got to like tiptoe around what they're actually about, and I think that's why the conversation about the books is so quick.
It's because I can't do spoilers, and with books so much, because like you said, because it's so long, like I feel like everything in a book is a spoiler. It's difficult to
pretty much.
and then especially because so many of them are sequels that I review because I read the series. I've then got to even be more careful because I can't say anything that would spoil the books before.
Yeah,
It's a bloody nightmare.
housekeeping. Right, we had some tweets from a while ago.
Yep.
Tom
some
Hogan.
time ago.
Tom Hogan tweeted us on August 26. Did
Yep.
you go to the canal?
We walked past the canal.
Dan Palmer responded, "Yep," and the gallery. Do you want to talk about the gallery, Jack?
The gallery was not great.
What was wrong with it?
I am not a huge fan of art. I don't really get it. I mean, I like my type of art is like H.R. Geiger, like fucking weird alien creatures being birthed out
Penises.
of definitely human
penises.
vaginas. And
Yeah,
penises.
penises.
Yeah.
That's what
Nothing
I'm
but
saying.
penis. That's your favourite art.
Yeah, it's all penises and vaginas. That's my type of art.
Yeah.
Woking Gallery is much more look at this statue of a person, and I hate that.
I just felt bad for when I put my foot in it in that little room.
Yeah. You maybe insulted some children's artwork in front of a poor little old lady who definitely didn't want you to do that.
No. To be fair, I tried to save some face.
You said that one of the bits was good. The bit that you said was good was probably the worst one in there.
Yeah. No, but honestly,
And then you insisted on calling a bunch of shields plates.
yeah, they had like a load of plates on the wall that just looked shit, and I was like, "Oh, look at that! That's terrible. That's not art." And then I realised that it was children that had done it,
Yeah.
and I did feel quite bad, to be fair.
I love
Well,
that
that's
you
good.
were
You're
like
learning
you tried to save face, and then like on your show like bashing them harder than ever. Like,
Oh yeah, like,
I mean, like I did try to say that the worst one there was good, and then, but I mean, like it wasn't, and the one I said was terrible was worse than I ever could have announced. Like tried to make clear
yeah, like
in person.
But, if you could have seen it, right, you would just be like, "What the shit is this?" It was ridiculous. And the thing is, there's like a whole room dedicated to it with like mood lighting and everything, and
Oh wow!
the only thing that like when I cottoned on This Is Kids is because they had this like open book and the font was in Comic Sans, and that was it. I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is children's," and then I actually read the words in the book and was like, "Oh, it's all about how this class had done a project on some bullshit." But what I don't get is why they had this little old lady sat there, right? Because one, no one's going to steal that art, I can guarantee. And
No, but people might fuck it up, Liam. They've got to have people there to make sure people aren't fucking with stuff.
right, but okay, here's all I'm saying is it's not really art, so it doesn't really matter.
They have to put her there to defend the children's honor from assholes like Liam.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because she did a shit job at that as well. Because I kind of feel like when I said this isn't very good, she didn't argue, which kind of makes me think she probably knows. She's probably in agreement.
She has to.
Yeah, she's sitting there all day just looking at that shit.
Yeah.
She was definitely like, nah, he's right.
Exactly.
These children have no future in art.
I mean, that's not fair. I think, maybe one of them has vision, but the rest were terrible.
The best plate.
Yeah. Amanda tweeted us saying,
Yep.
So it was difficult for me to do, but I paused the episode at Culture Swap, and I'll come back to that part after I watch Princess Mononoke, and I'm not livid at Jack, just disappointed.
That's fine.
Well, no, because then when I tweeted her saying that's pretty much how I constantly feel, she said, haha, oh no, now I feel bad for Jack, especially since this was his birthday episode. I'll change my mood to just mildly inconvenienced.
There we go. That is how I've always managed to skate through in life, is you make people feel like they're disappointed at you, and then you play the sympathy card, and then they feel bad.
See, this ties into what could be a really good mumblecore film, because that's kind of manipulative.
Yeah, there you go, it works.
It's got nuance, and it's baked into the character for Jake.
Perfect. See, and this is why we need those writing expertise. Sam Pryor tweeted,
Yep.
saying, "Why did you ask Dan Palmer on and not me at Roden Daniel or at My Pocket Journal?" This was about the Game of Thrones special we recorded.
Yep, and I blamed you for it.
Yeah, and I said I didn't know you guys had watched, because why the fuck would I know what your friends had been doing with their lives?
Wow. Shows how much you care about me, Liam.
Yeah, it does perfectly. And then we had a question from Jason.
Yes, of course.
Who was on the show previously, and he says, how does Lee feel being sloppy seconds? Ha 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 ha.
Pretty good, really. I mean, again, I forgot to address it this time when we started the episode, but at the start of the last time we recorded, I did immediately apologize for what was a joke email in Jason's episode that took wildly out of context. When I said, what the fuck, did Jason getting invited to the show and me not getting invited was to try and trip him up on air because he hadn't addressed it to me in the first place, but I genuinely didn't get a shit. But it sounded so real when you read it out that it sounded like I was genuinely hard done by. And
I mean, the thing is, Lee, you saying this now is exactly what someone would say if they really had their feelings hurt. So,
And it would also explain why you sabotaged the show that we previously recorded by losing.
This is all just your revenge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what it is.
I am not over it.
You wanted to come on twice.
Even when I get that sloppy seconds, it was like a slap in the face. I now have to be my own sloppy seconds.
Yeah.
Then I'm comfortable because then I'm both.
I'll read that one out later. So Hipster Pop Geek said, "How about Persona 5? How's that game?"
Oh yes, in the space between the last time I talked about it and this time, I beat it.
Way!
Yay! And now I'm in that post-Persona depression where I don't really know what I want to do with my life, and I kind of feel like I should maybe focus on, actually furthering my career or
why would you
getting
do
my life
that?
together. I know, when I could play it all over again for trophies.
Well, because when we spoke about this last time, because you kind of advised for someone like me who likes the trophy hunting, you said this maybe isn't a good game to go for because the trophies are a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it's time consuming and you can miss a lot of them and there's no way of going back, which is exactly what happened to me. And my advice at the time for you was, I would say do it for someone who doesn't care about who can still enjoy a story while also kind of keeping in mind what things you should be doing to get the trophies at the same time. There are guides that don't overly explain why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But point you in the right direction and give you the right options of how to make the best use of your time during the game.
Yeah.
I didn't do that for whatever reason, and I worked my ass off trying to get this one that basically you either know by the end of the game whether you got it or not, and I didn't get it, and I basically had put in 50 hours of my time trying to piece together this this build up to a trophy that I ultimately didn't get. And I mean, I was so angry. And it actually ruined for me a part of trying to enjoy the finale, because I was so mad at having missed a deadline to a trophy that I was just I need to take a break from this for a while and just piece myself together, because that was a lot of wasted time. And I want people not to have that experience. And so I would say, if you're the kind of person who cares about trophies, the guide. Do the guide thing. I should take my own advice and do the guide thing. If you're the kind of person that doesn't care about trophies, don't give a shit. You don't need them. There are plenty of ways to enjoy this game without trophies. In fact, that's what I had to remind myself of, because the ending to the game was really good, and I had to be I'm doing this for the game. I'm doing this for the game.
Yeah.
Zone in on the game, but I was still really not quite over the fact that I really fucked up somehow along the line. See, and now it's kind of do I play it again and waste 70 more hours of my life? It took me 100 hours to beat this fucking game.
Ooh, wow.
And I mean, if I do it on fast forward, I'd say I'd still only be at 70 hours, maybe 60, doing a second run, and I have just I can't do that. I can't justify that ever.
That's a long time.
I'm going to have to do this maybe a year from now when I'm less angry about it. But I mean, it's still an amazing game. I don't think it was as good as Persona 4. Okay. Because I cared more about the characters, and the story was just a little neater. But the actual overall metaphor of the fifth one about society and how basically we all want the easy way out, and that's why we vote for shit political leaders, and why we put our trust in people who basically have as much experience living as we do. It's great. It's got a lot of great material there, and it culminates in a really, really fantastic ending. That really kind of gets taken away when you end up playing for trophies. Yeah. But the fourth one is a far smaller affair. It's more about how rumors affect people's lives, how the rumor train can upend a person's career and life, and basically, and it's a murder mystery setup, which the fifth one kind of emulates in a different direction and does well, and the twists in it are good, but the fourth one twists are better and more interesting because you care more about the characters, all of them, and not just some of them.
Okay. See, I'm surprised that Jack's been so quiet throughout all of that, because if I'd have been saying how upset I was at missing the trophies and stuff, I'd have had a huge lecture about how I was playing games wrong.
No, but Lee also said he's not going to immediately jump back into the game to play it. Lee's leaving it time because he's experienced the story.
Yeah, come on, let's justify
the issue I have
this.
with you, Liam. The issue I have, Liam, is not that you are trophy mad. I don't mind if you play games for the trophies. I only have issue. It's if you're playing Mass Effect, right? To get some of those trophies, I assume I haven't, because I don't care. I've never seen what the trophies are. But you would have to play the story a certain way and get a certain outcome,
which defeats the purpose.
Yeah, which especially for a game like Mass Effect, which is so story driven. I've said before, I think on the show, I finished the Mass Effect trilogy years ago, and I really wanted to play again and go back, because I was it's such a good series, I just want to play it again. And I tried to start the first one, and I had this moment where I was I've had this story, and I can't play it a different way, because to me, that was the story that got built, and I was so attached to certain characters. I was I'll romance a different character in the first one, and then I was I don't want to do that because I've built that character with Shepard.
It's all
they've
connected.
Had that relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's how I play games. Is for me, it's the story that you get out of it is the important thing.
But what about the sweet gamer cred?
I don't mind. My gamer cred's torn to shit. Everyone that listens to this show now knows that I'm like a magpie with games. Me completing a game is a rarity. A new game comes along and I'm I want that. It's so new and shiny.
Whereas, I'm glad that you clarified the magpie metaphor there as you want the next shiniest things, and not that magpies were inherently rare.
Whereas I think that's the difference. I feel if I've put a certain amount of time into a game, I'm gonna finish it, because otherwise not finishing it to me almost feels like I've wasted the time I've already put into it.
Yeah.
Which is why I doggedly stuck with The Witcher 3 for so damn long.
Did you know, though, that is actually called the sunk costs fallacy, and it is a naturally flawed way to think? It's the way we naturally think, but it is also incorrect. It's the idea that you've already invested time and money into something, so you should carry on.
Yeah, obviously.
It's
entirely correct.
Fundamentally a flawed way of treating things.
It's like me going, well, I'm saving money if I get a 5 for 30. That's obviously flawed. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all that that's the way my brain works.
Yeah. It continues to work in all aspects of life. It's incredible.
Yeah. But the thing is, my brain is very stubborn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound really sets it up, But, a penny is so closer to no penny.
Yeah.
This actually brings us sort of quite nicely, this little bit of conversation, Liam. You've reminded me, because I assumed we'd done it, but we've lost it.
Yeah.
So let's go for the Liam's DVD tally, as I've called it.
Okay, well,
I have the total from last time.
What it was before?
Yeah, so I've got the total from the last recording.
Okay, because I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, so I'll just update everyone.
Yeah, sure.
So Liam last week, or the week and a bit ago, had actually made progress. He was down 3 films, so that's a positive.
What was the number?
Currently, the current number of films you have is 1120, Liam.
Okay.
So that's, you
say current, but that's current for when we recorded last, which was a weekend.
Oh yeah, because I am aware that you've had a delivery, I believe, since then.
Yeah.
So I can't wait till we record the next episode and I get to update this total, and I'm assuming it's not going to be a good thing.
No, but here's the thing. I've made a commitment now. Well, not well, maybe commitment's wrong, but I've made a decision, shall we say.
Okay.
Right.
So the reason why this number was fluctuating so wildly is... Are you aware, Lee, of this label of film called Arrow Video?
Yeah, right. Are they like discount films, or...?
No, they do like cult and horror and exploitation type films.
Oh, yes, that's it. Yeah, that's right, the kind of B-movie.
Yeah. So I basically had a complete collection of those, right? Which is probably something close to 300 films.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I'd watched some of them, don't get me wrong, but I was trying to keep up with that collection, so anytime they released a new film, I would have to buy it. And that's why I've ended up getting so many films added to my list,
that you'll never watch.
Exactly. In the last week or so, I had 6 films added to the list that were just Arrow Video films. And I had a really good weekend where I'd watched 5 films. And it was so annoying. I was like, I've got 6 films arrived, and I have very little desire to actually watch any of them. It's just because I want this collection to remain complete. So I've decided, fuck it, I'm going to stop collecting them.
Wow, that's a big step.
I know.
I mean, that's like rehabilitation.
I know. I'm really proud of myself. I think it's a very grown up decision to make, and I'm hoping now that number's just going to go all the way down.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, if you were looking at the collection like a lost cause and you're not even remotely interested in watching it, you could just give them away.
I'm tempted to start selling some things.
Yeah, I mean that would dramatically decrease the number.
Yeah,
and then you'd be beyond your target to your previous original target of what was it, 1,000?
Yeah,
that was the initial target.
Yeah, the OG target.
Here's the thing: if we could get Filmstruck in the UK, I think I would be so much happier with stopping collecting Blu-rays and stuff.
Right.
Because between I have an Amazon Prime account, a Netflix account, if I could get Filmstruck as well, I feel like I would have the majority of my film needs covered, and I would just have to pick up a film here or there, like an obscure mumblecore or something that won't be on any of those platforms.
Right.
But for some reason, we can't get Filmstruck in the UK, and I'm looking into if there's any way I can get Apple TV and basically code it to an American IP or something. I don't understand technology, which is why this is very difficult for me.
I'm sure it's doable.
I can help you on that, Liam.
Cool.
We'll talk.
Yeah. Because if I can do that, basically that gives me access to the Criterion collection, and that's fuckloads of films that I currently, am buying that I wouldn't need to.
Yeah, fuck. so much progress since the last time we talked about this, because it seemed like a dead end.
Well, here's the other thing.
It seemed like the jig was up.
We also, we're looking to make that move. It's expensive getting near London. I don't think I can justify having such a ridiculously 2,000 strong film collection when we're trying to downsize.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this kind of all falls in quite neatly.
Yeah.
As has become tradition on Nerd on Nerd, I'd like to ask you, Lee, what your opinion on Liam having 1,120 films in his to-watch pile. I'd like to ask what your thoughts on that are.
See, there's a half and half brain. One half is like, oh my god, how could you ever let this happen? And the other is kind of jealous, just for the sheer amount of choice that you would have. If I've gone to my uncle's caravan, and he has a wall of just DVDs, most of which I've never seen. And I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's the life. Go take yourself out to the country for a couple of days and just back to back things you don't own.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. But then if I had that wall of films in my life, I would kind of have to reconsider what I'm doing with my life. And so in that, I extend that to Liam, where in your position, I would be shaking and cowering under my own giant DVD piled hubris, wondering where it all went wrong.
Well, the other thing is, while it is nice having a lot of choice, it does mean that in the past I've spent an hour just trying to decide what to watch.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Bad. Yeah, because then it gets to the point where I go, it's too late now to watch a film. I'll just play some PlayStation, and it's just an hour.
Have you had that before, Liam?
Yeah,
where you've sat down and you've had to just go, I've left it too long.
Yeah.
See, that's bad.
I did that last week on Netflix. It's just terrible. But I mean, then I don't have a fucking 1,000 pile films to watch, which makes it work. Puts some pressure on it.
But maybe I'll start getting that number down now. The thing is, I'm looking forward to maybe reducing my collection, but I still feel a bit uncomfortable about. I don't mind selling a film I've seen before. I don't know how I feel about selling a film that I haven't yet watched, because then it feels like the whole act of buying it was just absolutely redundant.
Yeah.
So it might be I have to start selling them as I watch them, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, also the act of buying them and never watching them is in itself an inherently redundant act anyway.
Yeah,
so maybe there's no getting around that.
But who's to say that they'll never be watched? Because I cannot predict what the future may hold.
I can use statistical analysis on this number, and I can tell you that you are not going to watch these films.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, quite frankly.
1,091, 1,085, 1,086, 1,103, 1,096, 1,123, 1,120. The number increases, Liam. No matter how many times you try and drop it, the number increases.
But I'm still. It's not like the number's just increasing and I'm not watching things. It's just the what I'm acquiring is currently beating out the amount I'm watching, so the number is increasing. That's the issue.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying, Liam, is if we take the data set we have, which is the current list, it is statistically trending upwards. So you could reasonably make the assumption that you would never watch it. I'm not saying you can't, because you're making changes and you're trying. But with that list that we have, at the moment, the prediction would have to be that it's going to increase.
Well, we'll just have to reassess it by the end of the year, won't we?
I mean, genuinely, this thing started as a sort of joke, and now I genuinely sort of hope that it helps you. I think it would be good for you to get that number down.
The issue is, right, as soon as you say that, the way my brain works, it goes, no, I just want to buy more films now just to shut you up.
But that's fine, because that's also a positive for me, because I've got the same, half brain thing that Lee was saying. Half of me is I want to help Liam, maybe getting that number down would help him, and the other half is this is hilarious that he can't do it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I just like owning films, I like...
Yeah.
I feel like, people have worked hard to make these films. They deserve a bit of my money for it.
But
if you change the word film to heroin in your sentence, you do sound like an addict.
So people do work hard to make heroin.
Yeah, but no, I just
it would be a waste if I didn't shoot up on this heroin.
Yeah, I just feel like they why not pay a little bit of money to watch a film?
It's not a little bit of money.
It's as much as it's costs. I don't dictate the cost. If people wanted to make films cheaper, I won't complain.
Okay,
you'll just buy more.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I genuinely do think not keeping up with the Arrow collection, because that is the thing that is bulking out this list so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 300 films, that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's painful as well when you get like a box set arrived last week with a trilogy in it. I just looked at that, and the trilogy was like a sequel to another box set I've got, which had like 6
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that box had like 6 films in. And I honestly have like zero desire to watch any of them. So that's just 9 films that I'd either have to actively force myself to sit through, or I could just ignore them.
Or sell them.
Or sell them.
Defeat the list.
Exactly. And now if I sell them, that's like 9 off the list.
Yeah, right there. 9 films you never want to watch.
Yeah, so this is why I'm thinking, let's stop with the list. Like, I'm looking at the moment, right? And I can tell you that from the Arrow collection alone, my list is that there's 160 films on my list that are just Arrow films.
Wow.
The vast majority I have little desire to actually watch.
I mean, if they were gone, you'd be totally on track. So I mean,
yeah,
it's so close. It's tantalizingly close.
Yeah,
yeah. You could do it, Liam.
I know.
I mean, it's kind of like gaming the system. But I mean,
that's the thing.
Still like. Still
Oh, it's definitely
step.
cheating. And when he does that, Lee, I'm going to tell him that doesn't count and it doesn't cut off the list. That's not true. I would, if you sold them, I would count it off the list. I'm not that much of a dickhead.
Yeah, they would have to go off the list, but I would feel a little bit bad about it, quite frankly.
You'll live.
Fair enough.
I might not. I might get crushed under this under this bookcase of films.
That's true. What a terrible thing for me to say then, when foreshadowing your library of DVD crushing.
Yeah. It might be like, I'm just picturing now that I've sold one that's on like a top shelf. I reach up to get it, lose balance. That's it. That's me gone.
You're like Roy and Rick and Morty, the guy who gets killed at the carpet store.
So then Nerd on Nerd will just be Nerd.
Oh my God. Maybe, well, I mean, Nerd on Self.
Yeah, and it'll just be Jack just talking to himself about all the books he's read. Also, here's the other thing, right? No one's judging Jack if he like doesn't read a book or doesn't buy any books, and it's just there's a
Wait,
weird...
sorry. No one's judging me if I don't buy any books. What do you mean?
Yeah,
no one's judging me if I don't buy a book because that's good. I haven't bought a book.
But here's the thing.
Read.
No, but your books, right, are all digital, yeah, mostly.
No, I've got an entire bookshelf of books next to me.
That you've read?
Yeah, I've read. Yeah, I don't buy books that I don't read. I've read every single book in my bookshelf.
Okay, but here's my question.
Most of them probably twice, to be fair.
All right, but you get a lot of them on Kindle, yeah?
Yeah.
So how many books are there on Kindle that you haven't read?
None. What are you talking about? It isn't. I
can't
finish a
have
book.
read
Oh wait,
every
do you mean?
single
Sorry,
book
do you
on
mean
Kindle.
in Kindle's? Do you mean in the library of books I could buy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, well,
then your list would
that's
be
like
more than
counting
1,000.
Your Netflix.
Yeah.
Huh?
You're grasping at
It's like
straws here,
counting
Liam.
your Netflix on top of your film collection.
Yeah. No, I think that's how we should look at it.
Okay. Sure. Culture swap?
Yeah, swap my culture. We didn't do much. Lee suggested we do The Last Starfighter. I honestly remember very little about it.
Lee, do you remember?
We were all excited.
Do you remember, Lee, why you recommended this film to us?
Basically because I wanted an excuse to watch it. I mean, like I said the last time, Jason came on and he had brought this like actual culturally heavy piece of cinema that he wanted to invite in so that he would actually explain a little of the culture he came from. I just wanted to explain a little bit of like the kind of Star Wars rip-off shit I was watching as a kid. That was basically it.
Yeah, which is a totally reasonable reason to do it.
Yeah, it very much is Star Wars meets Tron, if I'm remembering rightly.
Yeah, pretty much. One of the first films to have CG in it.
Yeah, which is impressive.
Yeah, it was. It was quite good. It looked like mid-90s music videos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that's like 10 years earlier. It can only be deemed impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, hideous today, but impressive when you have like that kind of backwards-looking mind.
I think even today, some of it holds up. The only bits that were really glaringly like ugly to me were the asteroids.
Oh, because you didn't get a sense of scale?
Oh no, that was me and the moon.
That was Jack.
Yeah, they use that really horrible texture looking effect over the asteroids.
Oh yeah.
It was just real yucky CGI.
Yeah, it was real money for nothing.
Yeah, because like with the spaceships and stuff, like it makes sense that the CGI has that like polished look. With an asteroid, it doesn't make sense that it looks polished.
So clean.
Yeah.
I know, and when Star Wars had done such a good job making asteroids before,
Yeah.
it kind of really does not sell you on on the fact that this is a giant rock in space.
Yes.
Or like a giant lump of unrefined clay.
So that's the point, right? Like I get that they did like because I watched one of the extras and they were talking about how like they basically invented a lot of the CGI techniques for this film.
Yeah.
But I wonder why they decided to go down the CGI route instead of like the model work that obviously Star Wars did quite a lot with.
I would imagine they had a time limit or something. I know they had a deal with Atari to make a video game tie-in, so maybe they were pushing it that, game graphics are a big deal. And I guess because it centers around the idea that it's based, like this guy gets recruited by a game and then goes to space via that game.
Yeah.
That the world that they go to actually looks kind of like a game instead of like real life. But then they miss the bit about what films later on do better, like Galaxy Quest, for example.
Yeah.
Is when they go from the TV show to the real thing and it's bigger, it looks real and it's more impressive because of that, And that's where the leap in expectations come from, because people didn't play games in the 80s and think this is what space looks like. They were like, this is what a game looks like, and I guess I kind of feel like this is a ship in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really understand the thought process behind it, but I guess it was kind of maybe to be on the bandwagon of the first films that push things out that way. A lot of films did that, and Tron being one of those examples where, it kind of works because they stylize it, but it also like mostly a gibberish film. It kind of looks mostly ugly, I guess, but gets to have that title of being like the front runner in CG.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I'm not really sure if that was what they wanted, or they felt it was improved. But again, there's that connection. It was based on a video game, so maybe this is what you feel like you're in a video game. And Tron at least makes a little more sense because it was like actually being in a video game in the 80s. It would look as hideous as it is. So, kind of, whereas in The Last Starfighter, they go to real space and it looks like a video game, then it kind of doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, I guess synopsis of the film is a kid called Alex who lives in a cozy trailer park, hates his life and is looking for new things, and wants to move on from that sort of suffocating neighborhood, small town feel, and is going to be going to university where you can make it as big shot something. It's also really good at an arcade game in the trailer park called The Last Starfighter, where you basically you shoot a bunch of ships in that kind of classic shmup vibe for games, and that turns out to be a recruitment machine that ends up a guy called oh my god, this is the problem with doing this a little while after. What do you call it? Centurion? No.
Centauri.
Centauri.
That's him. Yep. This kind of shady alien dude comes down and says it was a recruitment program. You're actually going to be one of a starfighter command ship in space, and we're going to fight this actual threat that was in the game. And he goes there and he realizes he doesn't really want to do it, so he comes back to find his life's been fucked up a bit and that he basically has no choice. And when he gets back, it turns out he's the last starfighter, the only one left to fight this battle, and thus must go forth and defeat a guy with a terrible haircut. That's pretty much it. It's one of those classic, straightforward hero stories, which it fits the mold a little, but on the edges, kind of, as we were discussing last time, it has a lot of seedier undertones that maybe it didn't intend.
Yeah. I had an interesting fact last time, and I'm going to see how well you two are paying attention. The director, Nick Castle, what was he
Yes.
perhaps better known for?
He was known as, I can't remember the specific name of it, but he's Michael Myers in Halloween.
Yeah,
Yes,
The
he's
Shape.
the shape.
The Shape, that's it.
Well done, Jack.
Yeah,
Yes.
that did stick with me. Not that it was Nick Castle, but that the shape.
Yeah.
That did stick with me because then I was looking into it and like, wow, they really did credit him as the shape. That's so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he turned out to be a pretty good director. I think the film looks good. You know, it's well directed, especially on Earth when it gets to those kind of segments, like that trailer park. You get a real homely sense about it. It's quite cute.
Which is very unusual compared to how like trailer parks are normally depicted.
Yeah, absolutely. This one was really it kind of undercuts the main character's wish to leave because it seems so infightingly adorable to live there.
Yeah, he lives in this trailer park where everyone just thinks he's amazing at fixing things. They all are so invested in his ability to play play Starfighter that when he's about to get the high score, everyone runs out to see, and then he's like, "Oh, I just hate it here."
It's so true, and then it makes for one of those really cheesy, could have only have happened in the '80s scenes where they're literally like, "He can do it. He can get the high score."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Go, Alex, go!" it's beautiful. It's really touching. But to be fair, I wanted to talk about it because I was interested in revisiting it. Because I remember having really fond memories of it as a kid. It kind of kicked off my love of science fiction. Probably more so than Star Wars. Maybe because it was actually science fiction, I guess, where Star Wars is kind of science fantasy.
Yeah.
This had definitely more to do with like spaceships and space stations, and I guess there was a parallel between real life and space. That was basically the only thing that I was picking up on, and it had a little less of the magical elements to it. But yeah, I mean, like I'm really quite fond of the film because of its the culty time period of which it was made. It's an endearing film in which this guy. It just excels at everything. He's got a girlfriend who's just totally into him, and and lives this life where he basically has to decide: does he want to be a total legend or just a totally average cool legend at home?
Yeah.
And it's as much of us find in our lives, we often have that choice of being like absolute winners or just second place. Which, I mean, is still notable. And I think it really cuts to the heart of that dilemma.
I did really like Catherine Mary Stewart as the girlfriend. I thought she was great.
Yeah, she's a totally great character. Maybe just too into him.
Yeah. I quite... go on, sorry.
Yeah, but that it raises one of like the issues with the film, is that she her relationship to him is kind of, it becomes complicated the more Alex gets what he wants.
Yeah.
And the film does nothing to address it. And it's one of those kind of
definitely.
very dated stories in which this guy has a relationship with this girl and they swear they're going to be together forever because they're going to go to college together. They're going to, that they have that shared life and that teenage romance, which, as most people will know, in most cases, when these people go and they put their plans on living elsewhere, like the relationship can fall apart, or they could find out they're actually different people as they grow up together, but they've also invested everything into each other, so like there's that guilt of trying to stay together and stuff like that, and it's terrible. The film is setting people up for a fall in believing this is how it works, but it also then creates a dynamic where by the end of the film, Alex kind of makes the decision he's going to space and does nothing but manipulate Megs into going with him.
Yeah, I mean, she specifically doesn't want to go. She's like, I've got to look after my grandma. And the grandma's like, I mean, if you want to go, you can go. And Alex is like, yeah, you should just come, though. And she's like, I'll come.
Yeah, fuck your grandma.
Yeah, don't worry about your grandma. She's going to die anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, she's not gonna live longer you staying here. Yeah, so, and then ultimately convinces her to come with him and leave her life behind, based on basically guilt.
Yeah.
In that either she comes with him or he leaves her and moves on to his space life because he's got to go and she doesn't really have a choice. and it's terrible. It's genuinely really bad to see that. Because the relationship is it's quite good because they're like notably sexually interested in each other, which you don't really get a lot in not only films of that time but films of even today.
Yeah,
that it kind of feels realistic that they actually genuinely fancy each other, and more importantly, she fancies him.
Yeah, and she seems very into doing the sex with him.
Yeah, exactly, which is like something you just do not get in films. And that's an interesting dynamic, except when they ruin it by making it seem that she's so dependent on him that she literally can't make a decision for herself without being guilted into ruining her life.
Yeah,
and going to space where I don't know if she becomes a space mom or she's not qualified for anything. She doesn't know what she wants to do in space. It's a terrible decision. She has like a blank future just depending on this guy and being marooned from her family. It's a terrible life that she's in for, and it's kind of made all the worse that we see that she genuinely gets it.
Yeah.
Until she doesn't.
See, I thought this would be the sort of film that would be like right up Jack Street because it's all space and aliens and shit.
Yeah, you've sort of boiled down my interest, Liam, to the most base level they could be.
Yeah.
And then make vast assumptions on that. Mm-hmm. This is, like, if I had seen this film when I was growing up, I would have loved this movie, like, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's not that I hate this movie now, because I think last time we spoke about it, we all sort of, like, I had the realisation during our conversation that this film was actually better than I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy in discussion to get caught up on the details. Yeah, and it kind of takes away, but a lot of it is a very charming adventure with a lot of fun characters, and you don't really get that when you're trying to describe what happens in the film because it all seems either too boring or too weirdly, perversely backwards.
Yeah,
but this film has like good comedy and stuff, and I mean the sci-fi element of it is not the most nuanced sci-fi story ever.
Nope.
And you know me, Liam, I like my stories to be sort of confusing and then the watcher just has to figure it all out for themselves. That's my favourite thing.
Yeah. I know.
But yeah, no, I genuinely
that's why you're such a big fan of mumblecore, is because you love films that give you too little.
Yeah. Yeah, like I sort of agree with Jack when you said, like, I think if I'd have seen this as a kid, I would have really enjoyed it. But now
as a jaded adult,
yeah, it's still all right, but it's only all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, that's the thing. I'm working with the bias of the kid who at the very least grew up not to be one of those guys. I mean, hopefully not to be one of those guys who like guilts his wife into staying with him and manipulates everyone around him, and also feels like people mean nothing to him, and grow up to be one of those selfish assholes who takes himself off on the pursuit of greater ordeals, leaving everyone he's loved in the wake of his achievements. I didn't grow up to be that guy, I don't think. So I don't think the film was as damaging as it potentially could be. But I mean, yeah, it still could be, and you kind of have to take that in.
But as well, I imagine, in the 80s when this came out, it probably wasn't really considered, like some of the elements that we now find questionable probably weren't like red flags back then.
Yeah, and that's why it's all the worse that they are today.
Yeah.
Because it's like watching one of those like old films that turns out to be accidentally racist. It's just like, oh man, I thought I liked this film, but like, I can't recommend it.
Yeah.
On the basis that people that could be affected by that kind of stuff will be affected. So.
Yeah, it does. Old films have that. It's such a weird position to be in now when you watch something that has that issue come up, where you're like, oh god, I loved this film, but with what I know now, I can look at it and go, oh, this is horribly offensive to X group of people, or just society in general. And it's sort of a weird position to be in when you're like, what do I do? Because I loved it, but now I don't because of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating that we kind of have to piece everything that we see outside contact, the like societal context, and then within societal context.
Yeah.
And then like films like this, you have to take like three ways, like the context of then, the context of now, and in a bubble of its own. Like, does it stand up? And that kind of shit makes giving like scores an issue.
Yeah. Well, I think
where you basically have to get a bunch of asterisks to everything you ever say because you have to view everything you say within a certain context.
No, because I don't know if I agree with that. Because I feel like, while yes, you can kind of consider the way it was made in the context of that, but I think when you're like giving something a score, all you're saying is this is how I felt watching it at this point in time.
True. Yeah, and that's pretty much like with big picture reviews. What I do is like, because I don't believe in scores.
Yeah.
I don't think they add anything to critical discourse or anything. It's just a fucking letter or a number.
Yeah.
But I understand that people enjoy them, so I think of them as entertainment.
Yeah.
And just the general vibe summarized. So that's where that kind of comes into play. So I totally agree there. But when it comes to like discourse, there's so much asterisks involved. That kind of frustrates me.
Yeah.
Because then there's so much to preemptively explain before you give a score, so that people don't think you're giving A+ to racism.
Yeah.
That would be bad. Like, it's all well and good to be entertaining and give off a general vibe until you look like you're supporting something you're not.
Yeah. We're still going to score this, though, just so everyone's aware.
Oh, absolutely. 5 out of 5. Women know their place.
I really liked the beta Alex, that element to it. I thought that was very unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, how do I describe it to anyone that maybe... Oh, we should have said there'd be spoilers.
Nah.
That's fine. So yeah, how to describe the beta Alex stuff to anyone whose maybe memory is a bit rusty. When, like, real Alex gets taken away, they kind of replace him with this weird robot version of him that tries to essentially assume his life. And that reminds me, there was that one scene that we were discussing before where you see him morphing kind of into
Alex's shape.
Yeah,
which is horrifying.
It's total nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Which I believe.
I was gonna say, didn't you block that out of your memory, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, like, literally had no idea that was in the film, and so when it happened, I was super surprised on this rewatch. It's like, what the fuck is this? Was this in the original cut that I watched? And clearly, it was so scarring, I had to remove it from my memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's terrifying. It's like it's just goop with eyes and a face.
Oh yeah,
and
it's hideous.
And lots
like
of beeping and bubbling, and like a respirator. It's not cool.
I can't remember many other. Like, I liked. How do you say this guy's name? Hang on. Dan O'Herlihy.
Yeah, I can't remember how to pronounce it himself, but he plays Grigg.
Yeah,
Griggs, is it?
Grigg. Yeah, and he's like hidden behind a lot of makeup, but he still manages to be very emotive.
Yeah, it's essentially like a space iguana guy.
Yeah.
But he has this great, like motion about him where he's very pointedly making movements, like almost kind of robotically, but that means he's emphasizing what he does.
Yeah.
And then he's got this fucking wonderful laugh, like this choky, hearty, like inward wheeze of a laugh, and it's like so charming. And like it really paints the picture of like a character who just has a lot to do. And plus, besides that, he's characterized by like this just will to die in the heat of glory.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he had
some
really
of the
good
best comedy bits.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like that. Those are kind of like the redeeming factors of the film. Him and Centauri, who's like the seedy con man trying to win one over the government by selling them starfighters.
Yeah,
that he recruits on the sly, and like without their permission, and then try to turn to make a quick buck. That's fucking hilarious.
He's kind of like a cool twist on the like wise mentor character, because he, like, instead
Yeah.
of being the, like, traditional wise mentor that's all like, let me teach you how to do this, he's just a scam artist, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah, like,
And if you ruin this for me, I will get you.
like one of the best sort of scenes with him is at the end when you think he's been killed, and then he comes back in this white robe, and it's all very dramatic, and then he just leans in to Alex and is like, yeah, go with it.
Yeah.
So we've got a good thing going here.
Yeah,
Let's keep it up. Exactly. And when you say it like that with the white robe, it does feel like a very like parody of Obi-Wan.
Yes.
You know, like it feels like, you know, it just like he took that role and made sure it was taking the piss out of it.
Well, that
which is
whole
fucking
scene
hilarious.
reminded me of like the medal scene at the end of A New Hope.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
right.
I wonder.
Except cold and distant and weird.
Yeah, I wonder if like that issue that we were saying before with the girlfriend kind of being manipulated. A potential fix that they could have considered doing that I think would have been interesting is if they'd had Alex kind of fall for one of the like space chicks, yeah, like one of that weird. Because she had a few of the. There was definitely one of the space girls up there seemed to take a bit of a liking to him.
Yeah, right.
That I thought would play out. So have him get off with her, and have Maggie go off with Beta Alex.
I mean, that
So
would
like
also be problematic, though, Liam, in that Beta Alex is assuming someone else's personality.
You know, but have him be like, oh, by the way, you know, I'm assuming
Yeah.
Alex, and you know, then she's like, oh, where is he? He's like, oh, he's not coming back. She's like, cool. Do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
then.
like, instead of fixing the problem, that starts to introduce, like, rape discourse into
Yeah.
it, you know, like, which makes a huge vacuum of an issue within what was a more, I mean, it's a sinister under issue.
Well,
But
he's
then
the Beta Alex.
Then there's this whole, like, oh my god, this guy is trying to fit in with this guy's life, but isn't him, and goes ahead with, like,
Yeah,
fucking
but-
this guy's
but
girlfriend
the-
under false pretenses.
The Beta
That's fucked
Alex
up.
deliberately tries to like stop her sexual advances.
Yeah,
So-
I know, which is good.
Yeah,
They dodged that bullet really well.
Yeah, so then when he's like, oh, by the way, I'm just a robot, then it's back to her to make that decision of if she wants to stick with it or not.
I don't know, Liam. I think you've just made The Last Starfighter even more problematic than it was.
Yeah,
Potentially.
I don't know. I don't see the ending being that they go like, oh well, one's even each. Let's go home.
But if anything, so playing back into this like idea of like adolescent fantasy that this film tries to tick all the boxes for, I think banging a space chick would be up there.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
but then it doesn't do anything to aid the fact that we're supposed to like Alex.
No.
If he's like this seedy, everybody loves him womanizer.
No, maybe it could be like one of those accidental things, you know, where she just keeps throwing herself at him, and then he's just like, well,
And then
what's
he
a boy to
accidentally
do?
fucks her. I mean,
Yeah, and then afterwards he could be like, oh well, that was good, but I was just thinking about Maggie the whole time. So
that makes it okay.
there we go.
I guess I don't. I mean, they would have to commit. It would have to be like he was more of a Han Solo type. So
Yeah.
then his girlfriend doesn't really know where she stands, and then they would have to play down the romance angle to the point where she's kind of like, "Oh, won't we get back together?" And he's like, "Fuck no, I'm fucking going to space."
Yeah, but
and then I guess
he could-
then you get over the whole manipulative aspect of
Exactly.
the story by the fact that he just like he doesn't give a shit
Yeah,
at all.
he could be like, no,
He turns back up on Earth and he's like, look, I was flying a spaceship. And everyone's like, whoa. And Maggie's like, do I get to come to space? And he goes, no, I'm going with Greg.
No, he goes, no, your gran needs someone to look after her.
Yeah, come on,
Yeah,
Maggie.
yeah.
Get your head out your ass.
That does sound like a Han Solo kind of thing to do. Like, no, you know, you've got your grandma. I mean, think of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. But then it's a totally different character. It's not like
Yeah, we're basically
people don't.
changing the film.
People shouldn't like wish fulfillment want to be a Han Solo type because Han Solo is a bit of a dick.
Yeah, but I think out of all of the characters in Star Wars, he is the most entitled. Like, no one really wants to be the whiny farm boy.
But he's the kind of, you know, template where you project yourself into his position. You want to be the guy who gets the lightsaber and fights the bad guys and shit like that. You don't want to be the guy who fucks off for half the film, only thinking about himself and money, and then comes back with a change of heart with his best friend. You know, like, it kind of feels like there's a little too much to emphasize there, you know? You can't really project yourself onto that character so
No.
much. Although he can be your favorite, and in most cases probably is.
Yeah.
But I don't think people go like, oh god, I wish I were, conflicted about my loyalty.
No, I always projected like myself onto C-3PO, and I always thought of Jack as like the R2-D2.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah,
That is pretty, like R2-D2 is keeping you in line, and then you're just complaining about it.
yeah, basically.
I think that's your best analogy so far, Liam.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's no Star Wars.
No,
It's kind of more
not.
like a Masters of the Universe kind of thing,
I'm
charmingly flawed.
I'm surprised they didn't do more with like the alien creatures. Like, there's one scene where you see a few weird alien creatures at like a briefing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like, besides Grig, that's pretty much it. And, like, I get
It
that.
sets them up to kill them all.
Yeah, I get it's the last Starfighter, but I feel like it doesn't do a very good job of establishing the stakes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, it is all a little bit. There's all these elements that you're just sort of told exist, like the energy wall that's protecting our part of the universe. They sort of exist, but there's no explanation for them. They just are
And
there.
it just comes up, like, oh, there's an energy wall, and then you see the energy wall, and then it's that, and then it's over. And you're through it. Nobody cares.
Yeah, it's also really easy to get through it. You apparently just shine a laser on it, and it goes.
That's incredible memory, because I blanked out that little segment of the
I don't know
film,
why
like,
I remember it.
The energy wall, yeah. I guess it's very similar to like those old like kids stories I used to read, where like, you've been chosen to be on a space mission, and then you go up there and it's like, watch out for the obstacle of today, and then you go through it, and then like, oh no, watch out, it's spaceships coming at us. It feels like it just does one of those, like, it's that kind of straightforward fantasy where it doesn't really give a shit about establishing anything about its universe.
Yeah,
It just wants to go like, it's really about how this guy deals with the idea that there are stakes more than there are real stakes to be had. And I guess that requires a lot of you being in the right mindset going into watching the film, which makes it very good to watch as a kid, because you don't really know what stakes are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, Starfighter.
So you project yourself onto that spaceship scenario. But if you're anybody, you'd be like, why do I give a shit what happens to this kid? It's not going to happen to me. I'm Lee, so I have my own identity now. I'm not some kid. I'm not some asshole space fighter. I never will be. I've grown up. Damn it. Yeah, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. I'm sure we had more to say about it last time, and I'm just trying to remember what we're missing. I think the villain wasn't very strong.
No.
No.
Him and his fake Klingons.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just sort of put in so that they have a villain.
Yes. And I think
again,
they
it's
kind
another
of
weird
tried
thing.
to leave it open for a sequel as well.
Oh, it definitely felt that way with
definitely.
him escaping at the end.
Yeah.
And then going back out to space, and the fact that Centauros
Yeah.
is like, nudge, nudge, let's hold on to this, try to do our best. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if it was even a financial failure. I guess it just wasn't Star Wars successful, and they were like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they established that the main bad guy is the son of the guy who runs the Starfighter Command, but like, they never do anything with it. And
There's a lot of
it's-
information in this film that just
is there to be there.
It just doesn't feel like there's a consequence to knowing it.
It's almost like they were putting it in to convince us that there was more story there. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, they've got that race of aliens, and he treads on a tentacle, and they're like, whoa, be careful, because these guys, they get real angry real quick. And you're like, okay, so you've established that
And
it
then we
makes
never
it
see
seem
that
like
alien
there's
again.
backstory to the aliens,
Yeah.
but is there?
No. The thing is,
But-
it kind of made me think a little bit of Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension.
Yep.
Except I feel like that did a much better job of giving you this information that built this world around the main story in a way where that the information did feel somewhat relevant, even though it really wasn't.
It's also,
Yeah, right.
Buckaroo Banzai sort of, I feel, is very deliberate in the way it does it. Like, it is deliberately setting up, it's all part of it, that there's this whole thing that you don't know, and you don't really understand where the blue band, whatever, people have come from, and all that stuff. Like, Buckaroo does it on purpose to make you feel weird, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas this film,
Yeah,
it definitely doesn't feel like they were sitting there going, we should leave out all the backstory.
Yeah, intentionally disorient the audience.
Yeah.
That's a good way to immerse them in this very straightforward hero story.
I mean, I guess you could sort of view it as it is sort of accurate in that if we're following the story from Alex's perspective, which we are, he is just dragged into this space war and he doesn't get told the backstory. Like, no one at any point sits down and goes, right, Alex, here's what's happening, here's why we're doing it. They're just like, you could do this, we need you to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. That makes sense. That kind of fits the vibe.
Yeah.
Or, insert yourself into this fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, wow, kind of like you don't see, like, behind-the-scenes things that happen in Harry Potter, because if it did, it would break the fact that you're supposed to be with Harry Potter during most of it, so you don't see, like, Snape and Dumbledore having a conversation without Harry being aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would kind of break that.
I have a question for both of you. What game would you be the last starfighter at? Like, what game are you so good at that if the world was ending and they needed you to essentially live out that game in real life, what game would that be for you both?
No, I mean, when you say that, does it mean that when you beat the game, you have to be good at the real life version of that game, or can you just be good at the game?
So you're good at the game. You're good at the game, and then we'll figure out what the real life version of that game would be.
Oh, see, mine's problematic in that the game I've probably put the most hours into, and I'm not the best at, but it's the game I'm best at in my repertoire of games.
Yeah,
is Kerbal Space Program, which I think means that if that were to happen, I would be required to build rocket ships, and I can't do that in real life.
But I mean, I thought that part of the charm of Kerbal is that you kind of had to build rocket ships.
That's true.
So I mean,
if they were just like,
maybe
hey,
that's
engines.
the mission. Like, fuck around. That's your
Could we explain what that game is for any listeners, not co-hosts, just listeners who maybe don't know what that is?
Kerbal Space Program is a game where you literally build spaceships, like rocket ships that have to take off from the planet Kerbal and get into space. It's pretty scientifically accurate to how like getting to space works. Yeah. So that was like its big selling point, is it's realistic, even though you're using small green aliens on their weird planet.
Okay.
But like, orbits work the way orbits actually work, and you can do things like gravity assists, which is when you use something that's moving in space to like give yourself a little bit extra speed effectively.
Okay.
But like it's a really accurate space game where you build spaceships, and it's really fun.
So the real life version of that would be you just building lots of spaceships.
Yeah, it would effectively be like NASA being like, all of our rocket scientists have been killed. We need you to make a spaceship.
Cool.
Which, I mean, yeah, it'd be funny. I mean, and hopefully then you would also get to try it out on like Minion-esque characters.
Yeah, see, it's a lot less fun if it's real people. If they're like, exactly. Yeah, cool, we've got a pilot, and I'm like, I don't think this will work. I've just put a bunch of rockets together.
Fuck. I have no idea. Like, I would love to say games that I actually love playing, like Sonic. I love Sonic games, but then I'm pretty sure I'm not good at Sonic games. I just enjoy them. I guess like getting those 3 platinums in that latest Crash Bandicoot thing probably meant I'm good at Crash Bandicoot.
Oh yeah, because that is a ball ache.
Yeah, so I guess Crash Bandicoot. So what? Then in my real life, I have to break a lot of boxes and take down a scientist on a skate hoverboard thing.
Yeah, and like lots of real
using
precise
my freakish
jumping.
animal mutant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, maybe I could do it. I don't see why. I mean, dauntingly jumping over things.
Yeah,
I didn't die as much as people. I didn't game over on the first Crash Bandicoot like a million people did. So I mean,
that's pretty impressive. I did.
Yeah, so like I guess I could pull it off. I did game over on the second Crash Bandicoot though, so I mean I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would you do, Lame?
I'm not very good at games is the issue. Like I'll put a lot of time into them, but that's because I'm not very good at them.
Yeah,
maybe
so
like
which
a
one are you
text
best at?
adventure.
I'm quite good at like Free Cell Solitaire.
Sweet. So like you have to gamble. You have to gamble in a game that is almost entirely luck for the saving the universe. Like literally sometimes you get dealt a bad hand, and unless you like deal it out in exactly the right solution,
No, but
you can't go back, and it's fucked.
But the beauty of Free Cell, right, is that
Oh,
nearly
freeze cell, you can
nearly
fuck around
all of
more,
them
yeah.
do actually have a solution. There's a few that don't,
Yeah.
but they nearly all do.
Yeah, I guess there's more options. So yeah, then you just gotta find that solution for the fate of the
Yeah,
galaxy.
it's like a lot of trial and
with
error.
no time limit and an undo button.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm quite good at that, I think. Other than
High
that,
stakes stuff.
I don't know, like World of Warcraft I was okay at.
Until you meet somebody who's actually okay at World of Warcraft, and then you feel like shit.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue. That's the kind of thing I always find with games is there's always people that are like infinitely better than me at all of them.
Yeah. It's depressing.
Yeah.
Try not to think about it. Try to just be good, happy, enjoy what I do, and not figure that I have to actually like be a professional at it.
Yeah, exactly. As long as I can get all my trophies, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to prove shit about my Crash Bandicoot skills, and my cool, hip gamer score cred is just total coincidence and doesn't have to impress anybody, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like the thing is, like I like my little gamer score, but I don't, shout about it or anything. And the issue I have is I don't really have anyone on my friends list that also collects trophies. So I've got. So Dan Palmer is probably the guy on my friends list who has the most trophies, but he doesn't actively seek them out. So
Yeah, he's not like you.
No, so he's just been playing like PlayStation games for a long time, so he's amassed them out.
He is also a trophy whore.
Yeah, but he's not to the extent I am.
No, so I think he stops. He's like, unlike you, he'll stop when he's bored with it, but he still, when he's playing a game, he'll try and get the trophies.
Yeah, so he's like the one I'm trying to compete with, but I've nearly caught up with him now, and because I know he's not actively like hunting them down and competing either, it takes a lot of the fun out of it.
And once you're past that point, then there's no one left to compete with. Well, then you can compete with me. I do it properly. So
yeah, but I imagine you've probably got loads.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I have no point of comparison on this. Again, I have almost the same problem. The only thing is, I do have Lawrence from Big Picture Reviews. We do have a sort of semi-competitive thing, but it's also unfair because I just have way more games than he does, and he's better at them, better at getting trophies.
Okay.
But it feels unfair because then I just get a new game.
Yeah.
From like PS Plus, and then I play half of it and get half the trophies, and then I look good.
See,
overall,
I can't do that. Like, if I play a game,
Yeah.
I have to like really. There's a few games where I'm like, I can't be asked to continue with this, or like I might start a game and then just be like, nah, this ain't for me.
Nah, not worth
But
it. That happens quite a bit.
Yeah, I can't play a game and just be like, I'm just gonna get as many as I can before moving on. I have to. I'm all or nothing. That's why I have so many DVDs.
What was the name of that fallacy again, Jack?
Shit. How have I forgotten it?
In for a penny, in for a pound fallacy.
Sunk costs fallacy, I think.
Sunken costs. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I really have to remember that because it really does describe Liam's condition.
Yeah. What would we give The Last Starfighter out of 5?
I think I'd give it a solid 3, I think.
I'd agree with that. 3 out of 5 from me as well.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 3.5 just because, like, I'll bitch and moan about it when I talk about it, but like when I actually watch it, I'm just so enamored that I really do enjoy the adventure.
Yeah.
But and as a kid, it would have been like a solid 5. It meant the world to me that this film existed. As an adult, it does get some notable marks off for being vague.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still laugh my ass off at the jokes, and I still watched it without like really losing interest from start to finish. So I mean, that's more than I can say about half the fucking films I'm forced to watch due to this critic position thing that I do.
Yeah. We had a tweet about The Last Starfighter from Mark, who said, "Hi Nerd on Nerd. Liam Underwood asked me to tweet about The Last Starfighter. My job here is done." So,
well,
thanks, Mark.
Well, he did exactly what he was requested.
Yeah,
so,
the thing is,
bravo.
The thing is, I had a feeling it would be the sort of film that maybe not many people had seen. I knew that he had seen it, and I really wanted to get like another opinion because I wasn't sure if he'd also seen it when he was younger, so had that like nostalgia love for it. So I wanted to see what he had to say with more detail than what we got there, which was frankly pathetic.
I liked it. I thought it was a good joke.
Well, we'll never know. Did he like it? Did he love it? Did he hate it? Well, I mean...
Tweet us again, Mark, and we'll read it out next time.
Or if we ever have Mark
housekeeping.
guest, we can put him on the spot.
Yeah. back against the wall. Tell us, did you like The Last Starfighter?
There we go.
We need to know.
Yeah, we need to know.
Next time, Jack.
Yep.
What's happening next time?
Next time, Liam, we've got the guys from the Zac Attack podcast who you've guested on their show, so they're coming on ours.
Yeah.
Joe and Joey.
Yeah.
And we are doing, Liam...
We Are Your Friends, which is a Zac Efron
the
film.
Sweet.
Directed by Max Joseph, if you know who he is.
Nope.
I do not.
Have you ever seen the TV show Catfish?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, you know the grey-haired guy that basically films everything?
Yeah, is it him?
Yeah, he's the director of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, fair enough.
So
Good for him.
I'm really excited to watch this again. It's been a while since I last saw it, and it's Zac Efron. He's delightful in it.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, not being there, but like listening to you just gush.
Have you
again
seen?
For a while.
Have you seen We Are Your Friends, Lee?
No, not at all.
Oh, it's a recommendation.
Is it? But you spoiled it. I don't know. But we were getting a little more nuance than just a thumbs up.
Well, I mean, do you?
I'm worried
What?
because it's Liam who loves Zac Efron, and it's two guys who have a podcast dedicated to Zac Efron. So I'm scared that I'm not going to like it, and that they're all going to be angry at me.
Okay, Jack. Let me ask you this: do you like electronic dance music?
Yeah, I do actually.
You're gonna love it.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's the DJ
yeah,
film.
it is.
I'd heard really good things about it actually.
Oh, okay.
When it came out, although it did terribly at the box office,
Oh.
wasn't that the deal? But yeah, I heard it was actually pretty good. So I am interested. I might watch that.
There we go then.
Fair enough.
So that's next time. This time we had Lee join us. Thank you very much, Lee.
Yeah,
Thanks
Lee.
for having me, guys. Jeez,
The-
and for doing it twice. I mean, it's been wonderful.
Let the listeners know where they can find you, what you're up to, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. If you want to actually contact me, I'm at Big Pick Reviews on Twitter. The website that I write for and edit is bigpicturereviews.co.uk. We've got a number of critics who all give in their specific style and take on films. We kind of culminate it all in one place. And of course, you can get me at the Atlantic Screen Connection podcast with previous guest and my co-host Jason Michael. We kind of take like in-depth insights into films, try to interpret how the many ways in which you can read films, and try to expand people's viewpoint on what can be achieved through films by just looking at it from certain angles.
Yeah.
So there's definitely we love making the show. We've had Jack and Lim on before doing a bumper Godzilla / Kong Skull Island episode that I really enjoyed making, and would if you want a gateway drug as fans of this show, you can listen to that one. And if you want to see something a little more hardcore, there's shit like Under the Skin, and we have an episode coming out soon. What's the film called? Jesus, Upstream Color. These are like hardcore arty films, but we've also done like Fate of the Furious and Doctor Strange and shit like that. So there's a wide spectrum of shit that we've covered, and hopefully you should give that a look. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can follow me or Jason on Twitter. Jason's at AtlanticSC. So tune in. Hopefully, we'll get these guys back on when the next Kong or Godzilla film comes out, and then we'll totally disagree once again on what constitutes good monster movies.
Most likely.
yeah.
See, I would say, like, with your podcast, it's for anyone that listens to Nerd on Nerd who likes Culture Swap. Imagine just Culture Swap, but with people that have actually bothered to research and really think about what it is they're watching.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
I feel that's accurate.
I mean, it might blow out of proportion how much we research it. I mean, maybe not.
I'm going to be honest, it's a lot more than us.
Anything more than zero is more than what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I did teach myself how to, like, I read up on Freudian discourse just to talk about Fate of the Furious.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of does give a little
It's
bit
a lot of penis, isn't
insight
it?
into how much, yeah, there's so much. I mean, especially with fucking Dom Toretto, he, like, gets into, like, a gimp suit with a chainsaw. I mean, cars are penis.
Yeah.
In that world. So I mean, there's so much to read there. So yeah, listen to that episode if you want
It probably
discussion about penis.
It probably is my favourite episode that you guys have done, to be honest.
Oh, that's good.
And
We're doing a one.
That's including
very
the one
similar-
that we guessed it on.
That's kind of sad. I guess, I mean, we're doing one very like it soon, hopefully, for the film Geostorm that's coming out.
Okay.
Though I don't know if we could still go ahead with it since this is a year fraught with fucking terrifying hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if we can maybe make light of that.
Yeah, that
in
film
the year
is
when
going to
that
come out
happens.
at a weird time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make all the money in the world now.
No, true, yeah.
Where we had originally planned just to take the piss out of it, and now we have to actually think about maybe not doing that, which is then what's the point? And then I just maybe not want to watch the film at all. We'll see how it goes, but if we do an episode on it, you can guarantee it'll be a piss take. So I mean, tune in for that.
And Jack, where can people find us on the old social medias?
They can find us at Nerd on Nerd on Twitter. They can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Nerd on Nerd pod with dashes.
Hang on, I can find out if you want.
Why do we not know our own Facebook page?
Because we're shit at this.
No, it's Nerd on Nerd pod, all one word.
Yeah, obviously.
So facebook.com/Nerd on Nerd pod, all one word.
Yeah.
They can email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. They can go and watch this episode on YouTube if they're not already there, or snippets of episodes, and that's, you search Nerd on Nerd, all one word on YouTube, and we come up.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
And then, if you want to, you can rate us on iTunes, and it turns out, Liam, what that does is it bumps us up the iTunes ratings,
Okay.
and that means more people will find us, so that's why we want people to give us ratings.
But no one ever does.
We found it out, we solved it, Lee, we've solved the riddle.
That there's always been a mystery to me. That's why I've never engaged with the idea. Like,
Yeah,
and
no,
then go out of your way to like this one program that if you rate us arbitrarily does something that I have never been able to decide what or figure out what or where.
Exactly. Yeah, we were in that boat for so many episodes where we were just like, we don't know what it does, but people asked to do it. But it turns out if you get high enough ratings, iTunes put you on their little charts, and then people find us.
Well, no one's
Sweet.
rating us, so
Yeah, so we're probably not going to get on the iTunes charts.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you guys. I mean, now that I'm here and we've discovered this together, I feel like I kind of have to. A little bit of blackmailing that you bring it up in front of somebody and go like, "Oh God, for the lack of ratings, wow! If only there were a third party present who would be able to change that. Oh my God!"
can we rate it ourselves?
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, we
Fake
probably can,
accounts.
yeah.
We should probably do that then.
Well, I feel like, it's nice that you're offering to do it, Lee, but I do think 3 ratings might not get us onto those charts, but...
Yeah, but it might get you onto like a tier where like
maybe.
weirdos hover around like the bottom end.
We're like page 50.
like hover-
Page 50
Yeah,
of
and
the
like,
comedy, I
whoa,
guess, section.
Yeah, and they see nerd on nerd and like white on black, and they're like, "Whoa, this is it."
But yeah, I think those are all the ways.
That's what's going to happen. I believe in this. That's why I will definitely say that people should do the same on our show.
Yep, and we will, because if you
that's
do
a
it
thing
for
that's
us, we
gonna
sort
happen.
of have to do it for you.
I think I've already done it.
Shit, it's just me then. Fuck.
Yeah, but you're shit at all this sort of stuff, Jack.
I am.
Like, I asked you to arrange this whole thing with Lee, like, after everything went wrong, and it got to yesterday when I saw that on Twitter Lee sent a message being like, "Well, I assume we're not recording today then," and I just facepalmed and was like, "This is why I don't leave things to Jack to organise."
If you could see me, you could see my shrug, because I don't understand why I'm like it either.
It worked out really well for me. I like have fucked up your scheduling already by having you record the same thing twice. But B, like I got to watch Strictly Come Dancing last night.
Oh, there you
Well,
go.
that's good.
It really worked out.
But yeah, Jack, the reason why you shouldn't be shrugging about it is because you don't want to like mess people who are willing to give up their own free time for a podcast that we are doing.
I wasn't shrugging to be like, what's the issue? I was shrugging, being like, I don't know why I'm like it. I'm not proud of it.
Right, got you. To me, I just imagining it very dismissive, like I think.
Oh no! It was very much I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, we've already gone 3 hours. Let's not go another 3. Goodbye.
Final thoughts, Liam.
Those were my
Jesus.
final thoughts, Jack.
Oh, okay. Bye.